You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back for another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, this May has been Maying up for sure. It has been quite the journey and the ride of these past couple of weeks of spring and all the up and down with this weather. Because I feel like at this point, there is a winter and a spring having a beef over the weekend to the point where one day it is breezy and warm and great. And then the next day it's rainy and cold and blistering. And I don't know what to do. You know, I'm going in between wearing a cardigan, wearing a long sleeve, wearing a short sleeve. It's just too much up and down with this weather. If you had any doubt that climate change was a real thing, I'm here to tell you it is a real thing. It's just like, this is too much. Like every time I'm thinking, okay, let me get this closet ready for summer, you know, pre-summer vibes. Let's get it. I'm outside. I'm like, what? And I don't even, I'm not one of those people that like to check the weather outside, like the temperature. Like I'm just kind of like, I look out the window. I'm like, how it looks out the window is how I kind of dress. But now it's deceiving. You can see a sunny day and then go outside and it's a different type of, energy. So it's been a lot of up and down with the weather, but nonetheless, as far as the days go, it's been pretty good. It's been a good time. Mother's Day weekend happened, and I did not see my mom. She's in Vegas. It's become a thing lately that her Mother's Day is in Vegas with her other homegirls who are mothers. They do a mother's getaway because I think a lot of their children are like around my age, and so they're much older. So it's like, well, what do all these women do? They get together and they go to Vegas and have a girls trip. So she's in Vegas. And actually, my younger brother, who is, has completed his junior year at Temple, he is going to be a senior in the fall. Yes, just like you, I am like, what happened? I thought he just started at Temple. How is he about to be a senior? Where has the time went? What is going on? Yes, it's already have happened. Time is just going. I realized next year I'll be 34. I'll be in my mid 30s next year. But right now I'm 32. So we're just going to stay on this cuter end of the 30 spectrum. But my goodness, it is the time. It's moving. It's moving. And so he's going to be a senior this fall. And he'll be on his way to graduating with his bachelor's degree. It's nuts. Mr. Johnson will be finished with his program too. He's been doing his master's program at Johns Hopkins, virtually and remotely in Philly. And we were just talking about he's going to do summer courses and things while working this summer. And he said his program is going to be over in the spring of 2025 as well. So there's going to be double graduations. It's going to be his graduation, my brother's graduation. It's going to be a lot of tassels turning next spring. So I am preparing for all of that. But so far, no one's graduating this upcoming spring. So it's I'm just enjoying it. Next week is my 10-year reunion at Penn, University of Pennsylvania. So, I'm gonna give y'all that little update about how that went down, because I'm expecting there'll be some interesting things. But the good news is I'll get to catch up with some of my faves. People actually liked when I graduated. So I can see my girl Nina, she'll be in town, and a couple other folks that I'm looking forward to seeing on campus. There's lots of reunion parties, after parties, all kind of things are taking place next weekend around Penn. So I'm looking forward to the reunion energy and brunches and catching up. So I'm excited. I'm excited. It's going to be fun. That's what I'm telling myself. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. But yes, Mother's Day was totally, fun. I mean, on Sunday, I did brunch with my lit brothers. We went to Frame, which is in Old City. It's a loungy vibe. Good music. Music was not that loud, which I appreciated, but some really good hip hop jingles. Um, I had the lamb and eggs, which was incredible. Um, George had um, George had the Cajun style grits, which I just thought was shrimp and grits, but it was actually salmon. It was a Cajun salmon with shrimp on top of the salmon, and they were on top of the grits. And I was sitting there looking like, see, now I would have got that, but I really did enjoy my lamb and eggs. They came with the chimichurri sauce and breakfast potatoes, and that was divine. Jamarcus got the short rib omelet, and Josh couldn't come because he was under the weather, but he's doing fine. But it was the three of us, the trio, and we caught up and had a good old time. It was funny because we were seeing all the different people who were celebrating Mother's Day at Frame, and it was cute to see all the different wigs. I mean, nice, lovely hats. And it was fun. It was cute. It was a cute vibe. And we all, because all of our mothers do not live in Philly. So they all like live somewhere else. And so both Jamarcus and my mom, they live in Houston. And then George's mom lives in the suburbs or a little bit outward, I believe. So it was just the three of us, having a good old time. And catching up and catching up with the tea that's been in the Philly scene. But it was fun. It was a good time, and the food was good. And the cocktails were great. I never been there for brunch, but it was definitely a vibe. And of course, I highly recommend it. This week was lit because in addition to that, I was out at the sneaker ball for alphas. I don't really wear sneakers often, but when I do, they're definitely a showstopper. So there was a Greek Panhellenic Council, which is basically all of the Divine Nine. So that means, of course, the Alphas, the AKAs, the Kappas, the Sigmas, the Zetas, the Sigma Gamma Rhos, the Iotas, the Qs, the Deltas, Divine Nine. That's all nine of them. All nine of the Black Greek letter organizations got together, had a wonderful event in Springfield at a country club out there in the suburbs in Delco. And it was a lovely sneaker ball. Me, I'm a loafer guy. I love a good designer loafer. You name them, I'm wearing them. Steve Madden, one of my favorites. But I couldn't. I was like, can I get away with it? They was like, no, it's a sneaker ball. You really want to wear sneakers. So I had to get these black and gold J's, which were nice, low top, real fresh, and it went with my whole ensemble, my black tux with I had the black and gold, tie, and I had the pins. I look good. I showed up, I showed out. People thought I was a sneakerhead the way I was wearing them because they were really fly, but they matched the look. But I don't really wear sneakers that often. So my whole mindset is that, like, honestly, the next time there's a sneaker ball, which I imagine I'll probably go to one like maybe once a year or something, I'm just gonna pull those out until I get caught. Because I don't really wear sneakers. I'm not a sneaker person. Like I got some New Balances I started wearing this year just as my runaround shoe. And those are super comfortable. I love a good New Balance. And I didn't want to wear New Balances to this party. I really wanted to wear something that was more stylish. So I wore these cool, Air Force, these Air Jordans that were just glamorous and cute. So they were nice, and they were patty leather. So I had it with the matching black padded leather Telfar bag with the matching black patent leather wallet. Yes. So everything was coordinated in style. Like it just gave designer, and I was really here for it. I also got a chance to get some nice headshots, which is why you all saw those lovely headshots that I had. That was connected to the event, and I was like, if I'm gonna look this good, have a nice fresh cut, might as well get some new headshots. So on all of my avatars for my major social media accounts, that's where that headshot came from. And you all have been giving me compliments on my skin. Yeah, there was no airbrushing. That's me. That's my skin. And people say you're glowing. What skincare? And one of my friends, she a doctor and everything. She be always just trying to dismiss my routine. She just be like, oh, it's genes, it's genetics. Okay, sure. Yes, genetics, sure. But also it's maintenance. Okay, because you could be born pretty and then you can just let it slip if you don't maintain it and you don't take care of it. So there is maintenance. So I do get credit for maintenance because listen, not everybody who came out this that womb looks and has maintained. Okay. So there is maintenance there. And so I always tell people beauty is an enhancement that you can do. You can enhance your own beauty with great maintenance. And everyone can be beautiful. Everyone can be beautiful if they maintain their inner beauty. Okay. It's that's how it works. So how one of the things that I do that I'm big on, I get a lot of sleep. Sleep helps improve the skin. Okay. Let's talk about the holistic things that we can all do before I get into products, right? But good skin, good sleep, get some good rest. Okay. Just really take naps. Just make sure you take sleeping very seriously. Hydration is never a go, right? You should always, try to stay hydrated. Now, some of you all, I've been reading and I've been doing my research. All this drinking a gallon of water a day crap, water does not work that way for the body. Just make sure that you maintain a level of hydration, that you don't feel dehydrated. And sometimes, you can see in the way in which your urine comes out. No one's saying that your urine has to always be clear, but if it is a heavy, dark color, that is a sign of dehydration. And also just your skin. If you feel like your skin is flaky, or, you're pinching your skin and it's taking a long time for the skin to go back to a less, tightness, right? Don't no, ignore that. Drink water. But those are the common things, right? And vitamins, whatever vitamin supplements that work for you. Try to maintain a good vitamin regimen. I'm big on vitamins. I take a very good multivitamin that's designed for men. The company that I use is Roman. I order them. They don't sell them at stores, but the Roman multivitamin is something I have a subscription to and I've been using for several years. And that has played a role in me maintaining my overall health. So those are the basic things that we should just do in general, right? Now, techniques that I do for my skincare regimen, I'm very big on oil cleansing, and that's something that I do. And I think one of the things that I want to make people understand is that if you don't oil cleanse properly, it can actually be bad for your skin. So one of the things that I do is that the first thing I do is that before I do anything else, before I put water on the face or anything, I get a really good oil cleanser. And you can get oil cleansers from various brands. I use the one from Kiehl's. And they have worked wonders for me, but there's other brands out there at a lower cost that will be good for you if you want to do it, right? And so what I do is I use an oil cleansing. I use the oil, put it on a dry hand, rub it all over the face. Now, if you have makeup or no makeup or whatever you have, it does not matter. Put that oil cleanser on first before you apply anything else. So you get a good amount so you can make sure you coat the face really well and the neck. That's another thing about good skincare. Stop skipping the neck. The face and the neck. Get both, okay? A lot of people out here I'm seeing use really good moisturizers, right? And the face is flawless, but the neck and the face don't match. The drapes don't match the carpet. We got to fix that. So make sure that you're applying all your products on both the face and the neck. Everything needs love, okay? So after you put that face cleanser on, rather than mushing your face with water, what I do is I get a clean, dry towel and I soak it in hot, steamy water. And of course, I twist it and drain it out so it has a nice steam. And then I remove the oil off the face with that nice, warm, a little bit soaked, towel. You don't want all the water, just a little bit, but you really want to just have a nice steam. That's going to help remove all that oil off. But what that's also doing is that's allowing the oil to remove any extract debris on the face. This is the environmental elements that's on your face that is like from smoke or whatever elements you walked outside and got on your face. This pulls that out. See, you don't want to put water because water acts as a deterrent and a barrier to getting that excess oil. See, oil removes other oils. So the cleansing oil strips away all of that debris off the face. So when you get that hot steam towel, you take all that off. Your face is stripped bare. Now you might say, well then how do I replenish it with nutrients and everything else? That's where the face cleanser kicks in. Get you a really good face cleanser, okay? A really good mild face cleanser with good active ingredients and put that on a face. And then, then you can wash with warm water and, that gets all of the surface level, the residue and everything else. Then after that, you pat that face dry, you use a toner. I always tell people use a good toner or a cleanser. Some people use witch hazel, whatever. Use you a good toner so that you can then polish down that face and remove, just get the face bare, right? use a good, a witch hazel or a really good toner for the skin that's mild, whatever you want to use that toner and do not use your hands. Use a good pad. Do not use cotton balls. Use a great facial dry pad, like a cotton pad, and apply it on there and remove that way. You want to keep your hands as much off your face as possible when you're not, quote unquote, washing the face. So then after you do that, a serum. I like a good, hydraulic acid serum, a good hydrating serum that will keep the face pump, whatever you want to do to get the face hydrated, but use a good serum for the face. And then let that, seep in a little bit. And then I love eye cream. Apply the eye cream now. Get you a good eye cream. Again, I love Kiehl's because they have a eye cream that's for the whole eye area, not just under the eye, but around the whole eye. So try to get an eye cream that do that. After that, after you apply the serum and the serum's in, you have two options at this point. If you have a retinol type of concentrate for the skin, you can apply that on at this point. If you don't, that's fine. I don't really do retinol that much. I do retinol about 3 times, once a week. I use retinol once a week because the type of skin I have, it can dry my skin out if I do too much. And I don't need that much retinol because I don't really have too many fine lines or anything like that. But it's also just a nice maintenance. So if you want to apply the retinol, apply the retinol. If you don't, you can then apply the moisturizer for your face. And you can do that. Now, if you're going outside, at this point, once you apply the moisturizer, apply the sunscreen last. The sunscreen locks the face. But if you don't, if you're not going outside, don't worry about the sunscreen. If you are, I do recommend sunscreen. That's another proponent. I think the reason why skincare people have, issues with skin is because if your skin is getting a lot of exposure to the sun and you're not using any nice sunscreen products, that could be a problem. Now, Kiehl's, which I can't stop praising enough because they're just genius, they have an SPF sunscreen embedded in their skin creams. So if you get a facial moisturizer, if you get a moisturizer from their store, they have products that has sunscreen like in the formula. So you don't have to double layer. You put that face cream on and moisturizer, then it already has the SPF in it. So one of the things that I do is that when I know I'm going outside, I use their face moisturizer that has SPF in it already. And so that I don't have to double layer. Now, if you don't use the Kiehl's product and you use whatever you want, then you're going to have to double layer. And so I just love that they have a face cream. But let me also add this point, because some of y'all do this. Do not replace sunscreen with face moisturizer. Don't do it. Don't think that, the sunscreen is very creamy, soft, or whatever. I don't have to put face moisturizer. No, you need to put a face moisturizer to make sure you smooth out that retinol or that serum. You cannot leave the serum bare, and you cannot apply sunscreen directly to a face with serum without the moisturizer before it. So just some good skincare tips. Now, you might feel like that's overwhelming what I just said, but listen, you all asked and you should receive. That's my skincare routine right now for the spring. I do mix up in the summer a little bit. We'll talk more about that when we get closer to summer. But that's my skincare routine that I do for the spring. And that's how I've been able to preserve and maintain my genetic beauty, apparently. So, that's my tips. But I digress. The sneaker ball was great. Met so many great people there. Council member at large Catherine Gilmer Richardson was in the building. Saw a couple other great dignitaries and folks. I was with my fellow Rowe brothers because we are part of the only single letter alumni chapter within Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. So it was a great time. It was a great party, great vibes. I love a good country club party. And it was dope. So outside of that, other great things that I went to a birthday party in Jersey over the weekend for Miss Dawn. That is my personal caterer, Mr. Johnson, my personal caterer. She does all of our Thanksgivings. She do my birthday parties. She did my our wedding shower brunch. She's done everything. Anybody who's ever been to a party I've had or event I've had, you have had Miss Dawn. You've seen Miss Dawn. You've had her food. You've enjoyed her. She is a wonder. So she had her 60th birthday bash in Jersey, and we went out, and she showed out. I told myself, when I turn 60, I want a party like that or even crazier. She had a cake that she set on fire, and it was her in a whole hot bikini situation, laying on a beach. I mean, she showed up and showed out. Her party was magnificent. She had two lounges in the same space. She ran out the whole entire party hall. She had two separate rooms. One was more loungy and nightclub with the more modern hip hop, and then she had her main party with the main dance floor that she had, and that one was a like, the old school music, the good vibes, the food and the catering. She catered her own birthday party, but she had her cooks and people help with it. She had two bartenders on both sides of the lounges. They had specialty cocktails and drinks. It was a great party. Oh, I had a good time. It was lovely. And she knows I have a good party, and we're so happy to celebrate her. 60 years, y'all. 60 years. She's dope. Outside of that, this weekend I also did the TEDx Dilworth event. I was the MC, the master of ceremonies for this incredible TEDx event. There was 12 incredible speakers from across the city that participated in this wonderful TEDx event. I've always wanted to do something with TEDx, but you never know when it's going to come to your door, when the opportunity is going to arrive. But at this awesome opportunity to MC this great event, and it was a great turnout. The tickets, as you all know, had sold out like the first day they went on sale. And they announced me and the rest of the speakers. So it was awesome. It was some great conversations about being gender expansive, conversations about hugs, about intergenerational relationships. It was a lot of great conversations being had. And it was wonderful. It was at City Winery. We took over one of their main live private room stages, and it was dope. So shout out to everyone who participated at TEDx, who came out. It was great to see fans in person and do all that. But it was awesome. So shout out to the TEDx. But yeah, Lock Bar had a part of their first ever patio party last week. Little Brother showed up and showed out. It was a cute vibe. They were promoting their Crushes, which is a Baltimore cocktail. And I've had Crushes when I went to Baltimore last year and had the Atlas experience. One of the things that everyone kept talking about was these Crushes that is this really cool, like, it's like lightly syrupy, but like this fruity drink that's like filled with, I think, rum or any type of other booze. I can't recall which type, but it's in a bunch of crushed ice, and they call it Crushes because I think it's in crushed ice, but it's real good. It's like a really boozy, fruity, slushy drink, but manageable. It's not like a snow cone, but it's real slushy and real boozy and real fruity. And I had a grapefruit one, I had an orange one. The citrus ones are the best, I was told, and they were phenomenal. It was a vibe. But there was great food. There was lots of shrimp cocktails, seafood, charbroiled oysters, which I am so happy that charbroiled oysters are becoming a mainstay in Philly. Now, I grew up in Houston, so Galveston, New Orleans, all the Cajun food around. Charbroiled oysters were like always a given at a restaurant. But now I'm starting to see them and explore and expand throughout Philly. Of course, they have a really phenomenal charbroiled oysters at Set No Libs. That is in Northern Liberties. And that's where I first found the first ones. But now, of course, they're at Lock Bar. I believe I think they're at Steak 48. Now, some places are calling them Oyster Rockefeller, which is not charbroiled per se, but it still has the same type of energy. So if you are looking for this type of experience and you don't see charbroiled oyster on the menu, please order an Oyster Rockefeller. It has the same type of feeling and effect. Basically, you're getting a cooked oyster that's sauteed with like cheese, melted cheese, and other toppings. Listen, I love raw oysters, but charbroiled oysters it does something for me. Because I'm not really a clam person. Like, I don't mind clams, but I don't really eat clams like that. I'm not crazy about them. Scallops, I think it's because of my husband. Like, my husband can't eat scallops or clams. He says he can't eat mussels, but sometimes he gets away with them, but he cannot eat scallops or clams. I can eat everything. But because of him, I also don't eat them as much. Now, scallops, I like cooked scallops. I don't really care much for raw scallops. I've had scallop crudo at a couple of places, but it don't really do anything for me. It's not that it's bad. It's not like something I run to. Clams are the same. Like, I don't really run to clams. They're just too small for me. But I don't mind a clam chowder or something like that, but I'm not like crazy about them. But oysters, I'm sorry. Oysters get me raw, charbroiled, whatever. I like them. And let me tell you, I'm a real oyster bitch. Let me clarify what I mean. I don't like to put too much on oysters. When I see people put too much on oysters, I'm like, you don't really want an oyster. Like to me, I am so simple with my oysters. If you give me some really good fresh oysters that are from a really great spot, all I need is when I get them, I drain it a little bit because I want to get a little bit of that water, that seawater out. I drain it a little bit and I squeeze some lemon on top. That's all I need. Maybe a little vinaigrette, whatever, maybe a little bit of that, a little bit, just to give a little pizzazz. But that's all I really need. I like the fishiness of it. I like the texture, and I don't really want to dilute it with too many things. I feel like if you put in cocktail and hot sauce, you really are trying to dilute the fresh seedness of the oyster. You don't really want an oyster. It's like to me putting A1 sauce on a steak. That's too much dressing up. You really don't want the oyster at that point. You want something else. I think a little splash of lemon, a little bit of that vinaigrette on it or whatever. That's all you need. And just bloop, take it up in one shot. Just, shuck and bucket. Man, that's the way to do it. And that's funny because many years ago I was never crazy about oysters. But then all of a sudden when I turned 30, I did. And shout out to people. I don't know if this is a thing, but have any of you all noticed that as you get older that you're open to eating things that you have not ate before? I don't know if it's because I came into some money. I don't know if it's because I just, I don't know. Like I feel like I've noticed that the older I've gotten, the more open I've been to. I don't want to say open because I've always been down to eat it, but my appetite for it has been a thing. I crave it. Like I'm like, oh, I really do want this. When I was younger, oysters just was never a thing for me. No matter how many times I would go to places, I just was like, ugh, wet, watery, ugh, fishy, ugh. But now I'm like, oh, I want oysters. I want a dozen of them. I can just da da da. So like, I just feel like I don't know. Maybe I've gotten older. My taste appetite, my buds have just been open to them. And also, I'm big into caviar now. Like I love caviar. Like I am a caviar girl. I can do caviar anytime. But I have my particulars I like. But I'm into caviar deep. Who have I become? And then if you're really flashy, right? Caviar on oysters. It's a thing. I went to Davio's. Who was I with that night? It was Abel. It was me, Abel, Mr. Johnson. We went out to Davio's in KOP. And Davio's was a steakhouse. That was a night. And they wanted to really show up and show out for us that night. And so I ordered I think I got a half a dozen oysters because nobody else act like they want oysters at the table. But I was like, can we get cat? There's like, we could do some things on top. And they put caviar on top of our oysters. And I just was like, what? I enjoyed it. I've had caviar on oysters before, but that situation at Davio's was definitely memorable. I to this day still remember those oysters at Davio's. Just saying. So, oh my goodness. Yeah, I've been eating. Speaking of eating, I went to Double Knot this weekend, not this weekend, this week. I went to Double Knot at which is Michael Scholsten's incredible restaurant. Double Knot has been around for a while. So some of y'all like, ain't Double Knot been? Yes, Double Knot is on that strip that Scholsten owns. It's right there where Pearl and Mary is, where Alpen Rose is, where Graffiti Bar is, and Sampan. All of them restaurants he owns right there on that strip, right there in the neighborhood. So I haven't been to Double Knot like since 2018, maybe 19, maybe. It's been a minute since I've been there. But listen, I spun the block. I checked it out. Where have you been all my life? It was great. It was great. Okay. I was like, where have you been all my life? I was just taken aback by just how damn good it is. Like they have a sushi situation that is popping. But they also got this Asian fusion thing going on. I just forgot how damn good it was. Like I was like, it's been years. And places like that, it's good because a lot of restaurants in Philly that start off popping fade quickly. No shade. Y'all done seen it out here. A couple of these restaurants that came and everybody was all hype, and then you turn around, gone. You know, couple of restaurants like that. I can count on my fingers. Remember Bloom? Oh, I'm stirring the pot. Bloom, remember Bloom was the big thing. Everybody was Bloom this, Bloom that. I remember Bloom was a thing. Oh my goodness, who else? See, I'm getting messy. Let me not be messy. But then again, I gotta state the facts. Bloom had a moment. Bloom bloomed and bloomed. Okay, came in and out. Other spots that then came to Philly and just dipped. Um, the Fin. Y'all remember the Fin because the Fin was out here in 5 seconds. But the Fin was a moment. Remember Mad Rex? Ooh. Y'all remember the other one that was right there on that corner? Everybody was hype about it. It was downtown. It was here for 5 seconds and it disappeared. And I knew it was gonna flop when it happened. And I kept telling people that I was like, I don't think this is gonna last too long. But people was in their bag. People really thought this restaurant was gonna shake the table. And I remember everyone was so hype about it. And it was like around this time last year that they had opened. And it was a flop. It was a massive flop. And folks was just talking up a storm about how this restaurant was gonna change the whole atmosphere, and it was going to be this thing. It was Steven Starr. Steven Starr had it, and it was going to be this big deal, and everybody was so hyped. Bankrupt is what I called it. I don't know if it was called Bankrupt, but it was it definitely was a bankrupt for sure. Or did they said he claimed bankrupt for the restaurant? I don't know. No, I don't think it was bankroll. It was called bankroll, but it was, but the you know okay, so it was called bankroll, but I said bankrupt. Oh, I'm so shady. But that was that big old high-end restaurant that everybody was gassing up. That was supposed to be for the ballers, sports bar, upscale sports bar that was right over there on like 19th and Chestnut. Everybody was supposed to be hyping it up. It was the biggest thing since sliced bread, and it flopped. So for a restaurant like, something so great like Double Knot to still be here all these years later is a testament to how relevant and how innovative its menu has become and continues to be. So it was great to go there. And there, I always tell people one of the things about me is, yes, I go to a lot of new restaurants on a regular, but I also encourage people that don't just go to restaurants that you already know. I'm sorry, the restaurants that are new. Go back to some of these spots that already made you feel good. Like I always spin around the block when it comes to restaurants and restaurants only. Let's be very clear. And I always tell people that you should just do that in general. Like if it's not broke, there's no need to fix it. Go back, keep going. Like don't just feel like every place, because that's like I have places I love. Like I love Alpenrose. I'm gonna go to Alpenrose once a year, if not more. Right? I love my Sholston restaurants. I love my Vetri restaurants. I love my Michael Solomonov restaurants. I love my grands. Okay, like it's never a bad time to hit up Budokan once a year or so. Don't feel like you got to go to the newest thing all the time. Sometimes, let me tell you, if I was not in the food restaurant scene, if I was not in this like this, honestly, I always tell people with new restaurants, do not be the first to go. My personal advice: wait about 2 months, 90 days, weigh it out. Let it rock a little bit. Because if you go the first week or the first time it opens as a customer, a paying customer, you're going to get disappointed because, unless it's somebody that you trust and like it's a legendary, chef, but a brand new restaurant and you don't know who the people are behind it, weigh it out. That's my pro tip. Weigh it out. Don't be so quick to just throw your money because you might turn out disappointed. That's my personal pro tip. Now restaurants don't want to hear that, and so you didn't hear that from me. But depend on the vibe. I mean, if it's a happy hour, sure, right? Maybe brunch, sure. But if it's like a real sit down restaurant, like let it rock a little bit. Like Sin, last week I went to Sin. I remember I went to Sin when it first opened, but I was going as media, and so I got to try it, and I knew it had potential. But going to Sin months later, now it's got a groove, it's got a flow. Everybody understands the menu. The menu is definitely more comprehensive. Everything just has more of focus because they don't iron things out. They didn't figure out what type of chef is good for their environment. Sometimes what you'll also find is that a new restaurant will have a chef starting, but then won't keep the chef because they might feel like whatever those recipes are or whatever that chef's direction isn't a good fit for the clientele or the people that's going to the restaurant. So it's not a surprise for a chef to change within 6 months of a new restaurant. That actually happens a lot more than you actually think. And sometimes and I always tell people, sometimes do you want a restaurant that's chef driven? Because if a restaurant is chef driven, sometimes if the chef is not the owner or has a stake in the restaurant, sometimes the narrative can change. So I always tell people just be mindful about how you decide on going to a restaurant, why you go to a restaurant, because all that stuff matters. And speaking of such, Bastia. So you all saw that I went to Bastia or Bastia, depending on how people talk about it, pronounce it. But this is that new restaurant that is by the owner of Res Ipsa that closed down during the pandemic. Res Ipsa was hands down my favorite restaurant in Philly for many years before it closed down. Friday, Saturday, Sunday is of course my number one right now, and it looks like it's going to stay there for a long time. I mean, you never know, but it's my number one baby right now. But before I was in love with Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was in love with Res Ipsa. All of my friends know I used to throw dinner parties there. I used to have a good time at there. That was one of the best tasting menus in the city. Just great pasta, great seafood, just great Sicilian Italian. It was Northern Italian. It was so good. Just a really great place. And it was BYOB, even better. And it was intimate. It had a cafe vibe. And they would have this great dinner, but then they would always have a phenomenal breakfast. They had some of the best breakfast sandwiches in the city. They had just incredible breakfast sandwiches. They had just a great cafe energy. Everything there was good. That was the kind of place where I wanted to eat everything off the menu. I was I was obsessed. But then they closed because the pandemic happened, and it was sad to see them leave. And it was just, yeah. But he's back, and Tyler Atkin is the chef. He is also the chef at La Caviar over there in Delaware and Wilmington, which is connected to the Grand DuPont Hotel DuPont, which is over there in Wilmington. So he is back in Philly. He's got this new restaurant that's going to be connected to this Grand Hotel in Fishtown. And the restaurant is going to be opening in the summer, but it's been one of the most anticipated restaurants of the year. I've been covering this restaurant. I thought that it was going to come out in the early winter. Then it was anticipated to come out in the spring. But there's been all types of things they want to get done. The space is done, but they got to get all the clearances. But it's been every single, it's been one of those restaurants that you're just waiting to drop because it's about to be fire. So I am happy to report back to you all that based on what I had last week, there was a special exclusive media tasting for specific food writers and people in the industry. I was one of the blessed few to be able to attend this special tasting. It was at A Kitchen, which is, of course, Ellen Yin's lovely restaurant that's connected to the AKA in Rittenhouse. Bastia was there. What they did was they took over the kitchen. The chef there, Tyler Atkin, he collaborated with the main chef that's there, and they used the kitchen that night, and they did a special tasting with the wine pairing, which I partook in, and they served the menu items, and I was impressed, heavily impressed. Seafood forward. It's a seafood forward menu. But the meat was also taking me. A place that says, oh, they're very big into French, it's French seafood. But then the catch was that even though they had this seafood energy, there was also this delicious lamb shank that I'm still thinking about right now. My mouth is still watering. It was bone in, it was juicy, it was tender. I mean, it just fell off the bone naturally. It was a great meal. Mr. Johnson and I went. It was a lovely midweek date night. It was in we went there on a Wednesday, and he's doing these special exclusive pop-up tastings. I don't think it's open to the public. But I just want you all to know that when this restaurant comes to Fishtown, see, that's a restaurant where you can go the first 2 weeks, a week, or whatever. You ain't gotta wait. I remember I went to Kalila when they came to Fishtown, and I got my ass up in there like the first 2 weeks it opened, okay? Because with that type of chef, you can go. Now, new restaurants, you don't know the chef, you don't know the energy, you don't know whatever. You gotta wait a little bit, I would say, because the chefs got to get their groove. But that restaurant, that's the type of restaurant where reservations are gonna be. It's gonna be hard to get in there. It's something serious. I will just say I was impressed with everything. Everything was good. They had me eating burrata, and I don't eat burrata. I'm not a burrata girl. I really don't eat burrata. Burrata, for those who may or may not know, because you probably don't eat it like I do either. It is that white cheese that people like to eat, and it's creamy. When you cut it, it looks like it squirts. No pun intended. But it's a very creamy cheese. But like it starts off round, and you get the fork and you poke at it, and then the creaminess of the milkiness of the cheese gushes out. And it's a very creamy, wet cheese. It's quite nasty when you bust it, but it was good. Their burrata was good. I think what I had with it was like this chestnut, spiced chestnut situation. And that tastes good with these nuts. And I think that's why I liked it, because it had like a sweet savoriness to it. But I'm not crazy about burrata any other time, but that one was really good. Like I cleaned that plate. It was so good. The creaminess, the nuts, it was just, so good. But like, but it was like when you go to a restaurant that will have you liking things that you typically say no to, that's a good ass restaurant. Like I would have never ate the burrata there, but I mean anywhere else. But the chef insisted, and I insisted with him, and it was also paired with these fresh grapefruit. So there was like this citrus tartness that combined with the creaminess and the smoky sweetness of it. Oh, it was a great dish too. I just remember that, and I was part of the appetizer round. Yeah, as you can see, it's a great place to eat. So yeah, as you can see, I had a very, 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 very busy week. In addition to that, I went to level 8, went up to the rooftop, checked it out. They had had sushi, hand rolls, cute little spring rooftop party when the weather was nice, the sun was out, and it wasn't giving drizzy. It was a really good time there. The level 28 rooftop is exclusive for people who either have private events there or they're staying at the hotel, which is the AK in University City. That's where level 28 is. It's not located at the one in Rittenhouse, by the way. It's at the University City location, which I debate which is my favorite AKA, but I think the AK University City is my favorite. I love that place. I've had many parties there, many experiences there. It never gets old. But before I move on to the news, I have some great exciting news to announce. So last week, I was unanimously voted elected as the next associate editor of the Sphinx for Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated, their Row chapter. So I'm a part of the Row executive board. I know some of my friends will be like, child, it's always something. In a good way, they'll say. I'm always doing something. I'm always busy. I'm always doing something. But no, I really am in love with this organization. I love being a member. And when the opportunity presented itself to get in this role, of course I said yes. Of course I accepted. It spoke to me. So since the founding of Alpha Phi Alpha's The Sphinx magazine, which was founded in 1914. So the Sphinx is 100 years old this year. Did you all know that? The Sphinx. So it remains America's second oldest publication still in existence. So the oldest Black publication that exists in America is The Crisis, which is the NAACP's magazine. It is the longest consistently operating magazine, Black owned, Black operating magazine in America. The Sphinx is the second. Okay, it was founded in 1914. So this year, in its 100th year, I am proud to be the associate editor. The main editor of the Sphinx is on the national board, and they got elected through the Brotherhood nationally. But I am the associate editor, and I was elected by my chapter. So basically, this is an incredible publication. I'm so honored to be a part of it and represent Roe and the organization, and just highlight the great things we're doing here in Philadelphia to the National Brotherhood at large. And yeah, to be doing this as a neo is pretty cool. But when you have those great journalistic skills, I might be young, but I'm ready. So, moving along to the news. So much. We got so much to catch up on. I know y'all have been DMing me all this week, asking me about this, that, and the third. So much has been happening in Philly, and I love this show because it's the one space that I get a chance to just download everything I think about all of the things that's been happening across the country and specifically around my city. So let's get into it because there's been so much. And let me just also add, there are some things that I'm just not going to talk about in this show. And y'all be wanting me to get into some of this. Listen, if you want that, go to the Shade Room. Like, I'm not wasting my energy talking about Tiffany Haddish, talking about Jennifer Hudson and Common. Like, that's not this show. This show, we can get a little catty, a little chatty, but this is a very, news-based show. We are focused on real information. It is infotainment, but it is about real, meaningful, newsy information. And if I do talk about something that is entertainment related, trust and believe there is a mature element to it where I'm going to pour out some real insightful, commentary and thoughts. Like, some stuff is just not worth my energy. And some of you all who know me and know my work, you all should know I'm not going to weigh in on every stupid, petty. That's for the bloggers. That's for gossip. That's what those girls do. This show is definitely more sophisticated and clearly more intellectual, and that's why you're listening to me. If you want that, go to the Breakfast Club. Just saying. So let's talk about it. The Trump trial. Stormy Daniels. She testified this week. And a lot of you all want to know what I think about it, and I have thoughts about Stormy Daniels' testimony. For starters, it was, everybody keeps calling this thing salacious. She did detail, and explicit detail, the sexual relationship that she had with Donald Trump. I'm not going to get into the details of what she did and what she got into with him, because quite frankly, my ears, your ears, we don't got to do it, right? But just know that she's claimed that she had a sexual relationship with him. Now, what I think people understand is that, his team exchanged barbs with her. Basically said they wanted, Susan Nichols, who is a lawyer representing Trump, basically said that, is arguing that is trying to convince the jurors that a key prosecution witness, which is Stormy Daniels, right, in the former president's hush money criminal trial cannot be believed. Basically, according to the Associated Press, who reported on this along with a lot of other national outlets, the prosecution, basically, the defense wants you to believe that Stormy Daniels is a liar. And so Susan Nichols asked Stormy Daniels straight up, was like, you made all of this up, right? Because she detailed her sexual encounter with him, which took place allegedly in 2006. 2006, y'all. So this is like over 15 years ago. Stormy Daniels said no. The jury had looked on as these women exchanged barbs because she kept claiming that there was inconsistencies. Trump has denied the whole thing. But the argument that Stormy Daniels has made is that she said there was a power imbalance. And she says that that's the reality. And I wanted to be clear that despite all of the talk about what they did in this hotel, whatever she said about a power imbalance between them, allegedly, this does not, her situation and her testimony, this is the takeaway from all this I want y'all to know about this particular situation. This case against Trump doesn't rise or fall on whether or not what she is saying is true or believable. The reason why I say this, and the reason why this is not what the case is about, yes, she's an important witness to testify that this exchange happened, because what we want to know about is It's a trial about money changing hands, about these business transactions, right? And whether those payments were made to illegally influence the 2016 election. Trump right now is charged with 34 counts of falsifying internal Trump Organization business records. Now, this is all from paperwork, invoices, checks that were deemed legal expenses in company records. However, the prosecutors are saying that those payments largely were reimbursements to Trump's attorney at the time, Michael Cohen. This is the one who spent time in jail, ratted on Trump as he should have, and is now a whistleblower, has been criticizing Trump ever since. He is saying that those were reimbursements to Trump's attorney. That's what prosecutors, they're saying that these are reimbursements to Trump's attorney, Michael Cohen, who paid Stormy Daniels $130,000 to keep quiet. So let this be what we know for facts. We know that Michael Cohen paid Stormy Daniels $130,000. That money, Michael Cohen has said that money he used, and he went to jail for this. He went to jail for lying. He went to jail. He served his time. This is why we should care about this case. Everybody wants to figure out whether they slept together or not. Here's what we know. We know that Michael Cohen paid Stormy Daniels $130,000. We know that Michael Cohen got $130,000 from the Trump Organization. Michael Cohen has made it very clear numerous times that Trump gave him that money through the campaign to give through him, to give to him, to pay him, to pay her. See, the plan is that Stormy was never supposed to talk. Stormy Daniels was never supposed to whistleblow. Michael Cohen was never supposed to disclose why he got that money and what the money was for. And that was the plan. So let's be clear. They never gave the money directly to Stormy Daniels, because if they did, it would have been a woo, what's going on? The money was moved to Cohen to do the dirty work. And Cohen did the dirty work. And Cohen admits to doing this alleged work. So that's what this trial is about, is to get to the bottom of this situation about the transactions. Whether or not it was true or not, at the end of the day, Stormy Daniels got a check. Why did Stormy Daniels get a check if it's not true? And they didn't fuck. And this happened in 2006. Back then, the trial was in 2016. The plan is that allegedly, right, Trump thought that if this would have came out during the 2016 election, he would have that would have cost him. Now, here's what's so, I don't want to call it funny, but what's so messed up about voters, because some of you are listening to this and being like, child, he did. Listen, I'm going to say what y'all think about this too right now. With all the dumb shit Trump did in 2016, child, him messing around with Stormy Daniels would have never cost an election. This man got caught on audio talking about grabbing somebody by the pussy. This man said the most racist things during the campaign on his own. Nothing was going to stop Trump from winning that election in 2016. I'm convinced that Trump was going to win. The moment Hillary got the nomination, Trump was guaranteed to win. Now, one could argue they cheated, the election fraud, tampering, the Russians. That could be true too. But I just feel like nothing was going to stop the inevitable when it came to him. The moment Hillary was going to be the Democratic Party's pick, I arguably would say that was the moment that nothing was going to stop Trump supporters from backing him. Trump supporters are like the most devout stands. I need y'all to stand for me the way y'all, that folks stand for Trump. Now, y'all don't stand for Trump, clearly, because you can't stand me and stand Trump. But I want y'all, do I want y'all to stand for me like that? Maybe not, because that's a little too parasocial, a little too crazy for me. But I'm just saying, some of y'all out here be talking about how we can show up. Show up the way that them Trumpers support Trump. They was willing to tear down the Capitol for him. They was willing to say stop the steal and go to jail for him. Where is that for Democrats? Where's the loyalty? Who is going hard like that out here? See, that's the stuff I'm talking about. People say, what can you learn from Republicans? Loyalty. Being a ride or die. Like, I need a Marjorie Taylor Greene. I do have a Marjorie Taylor. I actually do have a Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's not Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I do have a Marjorie Taylor Greene type of friend. She is, yeah, my friend knows who she is. Now, she don't like anybody else, but she love her some me. And she is the type that will, listen, you gotta have at least one Marjorie Taylor Greene type of friend in your life. Okay? She don't care what could be wrong. I could be wrong as hell, but I'm right, and she gonna stick with it, and she gonna rock with it. She don't care. Sometimes you be the Marjorie Taylor Greene, a one that's not gonna hold you accountable for your fuck shit. The way Marjorie Taylor Greene ride for Trump, I tell you, that's a real ride or die. She trash, but her loyalty, I have to admit, her loyalty is enduring. It's enduring. So, you just you gotta have some ride or dies. Where are the real stands out here? Them Trumpers said, listen, we are going up on June 6th, and we're gonna tear this shit down because he did not win. Where was the Hillary supporters in 2016? Because they barely wanted to vote for her. That's why. The Trumpers wanted to vote for Trump. We going to the polls. Democrats, enthusiasm be gone. We're going because we're trying to vote for our lives. When Biden won, you notice that there were no Biden supporters out there fighting with the insurrectionists. To me, if I had a situation where somebody tried to run up on me or do something, right, some crazy person, my friends will jump in and get in. Where was the Biden? See, we're asking the wrong questions. Now that I have had some time away from this, I've been reflecting on all of this shit. Where were the Biden supporters? How y'all just gonna let them come in that White House and tear all that down? Nobody was going. No Biden supporters showed up to DC and said we're gonna stop this. Exactly. Stay woke. Stay woke. See, you couldn't tell me somebody about to roll up and stop my election or stop anything. I got no friends to come by and try to combat it. Democrats could have said stop the steal in 2016. We could have showed up on January 6, 2017 with the facts and said stop the steal. Nope. We just let it happen. And Hillary showed her ass up to the damn election, to the inauguration. We just a different type of party. But long story short, with Stormy Daniels' trial, the real situation here is going to see if the jury will convict Trump for basically trying to interfere with the election. Basically, if they're going to buy into the fact that he seesaw between bookkeepers and bankers, relaying the nuts and bolts of check paying procedures and wire transfers to do some stuff, to really basically try to dead all of the things that was being said about him through the tabloid machine. Was he using campaign finances to do this, which is illegal and against the law? That's what this case is about. Stay focused, stay on task. The whole this trial salacious. It's really not that salacious, to be honest. Stormy Daniels just went up there to testify that she, in fact, was somebody who was the source of this, but she is not the reason that Trump will or may not go to jail, okay? Or be convicted at the very least. So just want to put that there. I also want to talk a little bit about Biden's TikTok war. So it's real. This TikTok situation that everybody's been talking about is real. Congress, everybody wants TikTok to be banned. However, there is a current fight, right? So the reality is that they got a couple of months. TikTok got a couple of months to do two things. Either they sell to a different company, the Chinese company, owned company, they can either sell or that's it. You got to either sell it to somebody else or change the whole apparatus of the app, or you will not be able to be used in the United States. And Congress is arguing that there are some safety issues and concerns, some breaching that they're worried about, some interference they're worried about with TikTok. We don't know all the details, but they've been saying that they just think a Chinese-owned company that has this type of access to the data of millions upon millions of Americans is not safe. It's a hazard without any regulation. They don't have any regulation. They're not being regulated by the United States government. Because there's lack of transparency in the way in which it's operating, they're going to ban TikTok in the US. They're going to take it off of the app stores, and you won't be able to get TikTok in the US. Hallelujah. I hate TikTok, okay? I wasn't crazy about TikTok. I ain't fighting this fight. I stand with Congress. I stand with the Senate. I stand with Biden. Ban the fuck out of TikTok. Fuck TikTok. Okay. I'm not crazy about it. I don't want to learn any new apps. And see, I'm so fashion forward. I told y'all, there was no need for me to get on TikTok like that because I figured it just wasn't going to be something that just felt right. It didn't sit right in my spirit. And now I feel conviction because I just knew something about TikTok was just off, and I just was never into it because I just said something about it's weird. The way they do these algorithms, the way they play these games, we don't need no more distractions. Take that shit the fuck off. The kids need to learn a new dance or do something else. But like I'm not crazy about TikTok. Now to update you all, TikTok has sued and fought back. So they're fighting back against this whole situation, claiming some First Amendment rights or free speech issues and violations. Let me say this. Fuck all that. How you talking about free speech violations when your company is being operated from a communist country? How does that make sense? Make it make sense. Your country that owns this app doesn't even allow people to use Google. Okay, it doesn't even allow people, the stuff that they put out in America, they don't even support in their own country. Which to me is weird, right? Because if you think it's good for the geese, wouldn't it be good for the gander? I'm just saying, like, why would you create something that you wouldn't want your citizens to use, but it's okay for other people to do? Why? What's in there? What do you know? They know what's up with social media. They know what's up. They know how these apps work. The research is telling us everything we know about this on mental health and everything else. They know. And they know that Americans are capitalistic and just greedy and attention seeking and pressed and thirsty, that they are going to feed us whatever it is to dumb us down so they can try to behind the scenes conquer us. I'm not foolish. I'm supporting this ban because I think that TikTok is an overall nuisance to our society. A couple of you smart folks are like, oh, well, I like this. Well, get off your ass and read a book. Because you know what it is? Some of these apps are making even my smartest associates dumb. I have seen too many people read and fall for the okie doke on Twitter, fall for the okie doke on these apps, any little dumbass hack, any recipes. They just have become so codependent on these things, thinking that they're useful things to teach them things. And for people out here who got the master's and the doctor's degree, ain't you sick of TikTok too? You're a psychologist, you're a therapist, you're a person that do this work. Ain't you sick of these people on these apps reducing what you do as a skill? Yes, it's time to shut it down. So I support Biden's TikTok war. And I actually going to the polls to vote for him. And if you think young people are going to say no to voting, they're not going to vote for Biden because of the TikTok, child, they deserve whatever's coming to them because there's bigger fish to fry than you trying to do the renegade. Or you still in some black culture and trying to appropriate it. Because to be honest, I thought for 5 seconds that maybe TikTok was going to be more equitable for black and brown content users. I thought that this would be the app that could get it right, that they will go in a different direction and they will move the culture forward. Nope. They did the same shit that's wrong with these other apps. So it's like, well, what's the point of your existence? Get out of here. I thought they were going to kill, Snapchat, but somehow Snapchat still has a little cult audience somewhere for some reason. So, it is what it is. But speaking of things that just does not make sense, or I don't want to be disrespectful and say a bird brain, but RFK, the man who's been saying a lot of, ridiculous conspiracy theories and saying a lot of wild, out of this world stuff, has just decided to announce to everybody that apparently he's had a parasite worm in his brain. JFK Jr., who's running as an independent, says that doctors found a dead worm in his brain. This is a lot. In 2010, he said that he was experiencing memory loss and mental fogginess that was so severe that they thought he might have a brain tumor. However, he talked to several of the country's top neurologists, many of whom either treated or spoke to his uncle, which was Senator Ed Kennedy, who died the previous year. This was in 2009 of brain cancer. So Edward M. Kennedy, Senator Ed Kennedy, who is his uncle, because he is a Kennedy. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a Kennedy, even though his political background is wild. But he told people that, he talked about his situation. There's been a lot of speculation. The A lot of people have talked about, they didn't want to provide medical records to the New York Times. Neither Biden nor Trump has also released medical records in this election cycle. The White House did put out a 6-page summary about Biden in February, according to the New York Times. And Trump put out a 3-paragraph statement from his doctor in November. Compare and contrast, y'all. But last week, Kennedy posted on his profile, I offered to eat 5 more brain worms and still beat President Trump and Biden in the debate. I felt confident in the result, even with a 6-worm handicap. This is serious. It's nothing to laugh at. However, look, if there was ever a time for RFK to drop out the race, let this be the time, because he's not going to win, and people are trying to debate whether he's going to be a spoiler for Biden or Trump. I get the sense in my gut that he's going to be a spoiler for Trump more than Biden. I don't see Biden supporters leaving him to go to RFK. I just feel like if they're just either they're going to sit out or they're going to vote for Biden. I feel like Trump supporters some of them might not be feeling Trump as much anymore, and they might move. So we'll see. We'll see. There's a lot going on there. Now, these campus protests that are happening. So many campus protests are happening all over the country in different ways. Students are speaking out. They're doing a lot. There's been a lot happening, and it's just continues to just escalate. A good friend of mine was telling me that they think a lot of this will die down naturally because graduation season is here. So people might be getting up, standing out, walking out during commencement speeches to protest celebrities, elected officials, whatnot. There's been talks about Morehouse having President Biden as their commencement speaker, and there's been students who claim they're going to walk out. I mean, there's been all types of chatter about what's going to happen across the country with these colleges. So far, it's been a lot of uncertainty about how people are going to show up and perform. And I say perform loosely, but that's really what it's going to be. But there also has been some encampments that have been, across the country. Notably, there was an encampment at Penn, but the encampment is no more. Last week, I had reported to you all that initially the Philadelphia Police Department was not going to intervene. Well, this past weekend, they did. Around 6 a.m. early morning on Friday, the Philadelphia Police Department came in and shut that encampment down. They took the flags. They took all the camp tents. They made people clear. They arrested students. But to be very clear, the students and faculty arrested, none of them were put in jail. They were issued like little citations, but there was no criminal charge or anything like that. But they did get them off the campus. No one was harmed. Reportedly, there was no incidents. No one got shot. No one was, hit or bad or anything. But and most of the students and faculty that were around did comply with authorities and got off the campus. And some of them were, wrangled and arrested or just temporarily, escorted out. But it did happen. There weren't many reporters on location. There were reports that some reporters where people were told to leave, and some were being pushed out the way or being, really aggressively told to exit. Not so cool, of course. But overall, they got that encampment out the way. There's been chatter about who and what. Here's what I will say, and here's my suspicion, because there's been several stories about what happened. Now, apparently, initially people said, well, why was this happening? Josh Shapiro spoke the day before on Thursday at an event and said that, Penn should step up and remove those encampments. The next morning, I want to say from Thursday to 6 a.m. Friday encampments, those tents got removed. Now, in my mind, I've noticed a pattern and no one's paying attention. But politically, when Josh Shapiro speaks on Penn, that's when things just happen. I've seen this already. I remember with Liz McGill, Josh Shapiro, governor, came down to Penn's campus and spoke against Liz McGill and how she was handling the issues that were happening on campus. And that was before there was encampment. And then next thing you know, that weekend, Liz McGill had resigned. Last Thursday, Governor Shapiro speaks on the encampments with Penn, says that the campus needs to step up and do more. Next morning, the encampments are gone. Now, that was how a lot of people was looking at it. And Shapiro now has told the press and has claimed that he was already aware that the university was going to, that the police department, the city was going to step in and do what they did before he spoke on it. Okay. But there's also been sources that have told, Ernestly speaking from the city, sources have told me that he made the call. The city accepted the call, allegedly, to do it. Like he wanted this to be done. And that he spoke last week, Thursday, because he knew what was going to happen the next day. Problem is that there's some backtracking here. I'm trying to navigate what is the reason for it. I have different theories, and these are theories. Okay, let me be very clear. This is not anything that I'm just theorizing, analyzing what I think could be potential reasons. Part of me thinks that could Shapiro have been the one that he saw that the city didn't want to do anything because the city didn't want a case, right? That they were going to leave it alone. And that because he has his own political relationships and connections and his thoughts, right? This is a very transactional political leader, that because of all the politics that shaped his opinions and thoughts about this, that could have been that Shapiro was like, he had the authority and influence to call the mayor, right? Mayor Parker, and tell Mayor Parker, you need to remove this. And of course, Parker felt like her hands were tied and probably did it because the governor told her to do it. Right? The Democratic governor said to do it. She did what she had to do. But of course, strategically, the Philadelphia Police Department handled this and the only way they could have to make it make sense. Now I'll get to one other theory, but I think that was what happened. Now, somewhere along the way, two things must have shifted this narrative. One is that because they executed this very, very well, and I mean execute, I have to make sure I gotta say there's ways that people will look at what I mean by execute well. I'm not saying on a humanitarian, social, political way they handled it well. I'm saying that the way that they wanted to operate, they did not shoot anyone. They did not arrest anyone permanently. They didn't do any of the things that they thought would have been a catastrophic nightmare for that administration, for that police department. So they did execute what they wanted to do well without having any casualties or anything ridiculous take place. Now, the whole thing is a free speech clusterfuck that the university is going to have to figure out, because since this decision happened, let's be clear, Penn called for it. The Philadelphia Police Department did not want to intervene in this. I don't believe that the Park administration really wanted to get in the middle of this. I think they really just wanted this to just, I think they felt like it was going to eventually, edge itself out, which I think it was too. I just think that Penn was like, look, we got commencement next week. We got all this, the alumni weekend. We can't have this shit on the campus when alumni come and their wealthy donors come, the billionaire class come. So I do think that to a certain extent, they were looking at image repair like this is going on too long. So I think in one sense, because they executed well, I think they did not want the credit to go to Shapiro. Because even though Shapiro made the call to do it, it was not Shapiro's team that executed so seamlessly. So I think maybe to a certain extent, Shapiro kind of pulled back and was like, actually, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I just called on it, but I knew. But I don't understand why he would speak on this way, knowing what was going to happen next. It's kind of politically manipulating a little bit. A little weird. That's weird to me. Like, did you want to get the credit? Did you really do it? Are you trying to like not take up the spotlight on it? Like, what's happening in this situation? All I'm saying is that Shapiro is an interesting governor. He's a little very ambitious, a little too much dip on his chip. Look, last year he was doing all right. This year it's been a bunch of some interesting moves. Some interesting moves over there in the governor's mansion. Stay woke. So, in other news, part of the reason why I think Mayor Sherelle Parker did not want to get involved with this police cleanup operation when it comes to the encampments is because she had already went to Kensington earlier this week and did a massive operation over there. The police department went there and just basically cleaned up that street. So many people were displaced. We don't know exactly where everyone's at. We don't know the whereabouts, but all we know is that there was a major operation on Wednesday. Law enforcement came down there and wrangled up a lot of things. Now, people have been really upset about it because they don't really know the details. People have said there's lies about how the narrative has been. You know, people have said on social media, like, oh, they took all these people in the middle of the day and took all these folks and took these people away and we don't know where they're at. Well, that's not a proper characterization of what happened. But the park administration really went down into Kensington and took some action. And a lot of people have different thoughts about it. People are very much heartbroken. But you know what? I just got to call a spade a spade. I really got to call a spade a spade. This is what are you ready? Is this what you all waited for? Is this what y'all asked for? This is what y'all came for. This is what y'all asked for. I just want to be clear here. You all voted for her in the primary a year ago. You wanted somebody that was tough on crime. You wanted somebody to do something about Kensington. What did you think they were going to do? I don't like the half-assedness that Philly do, right? Because you all elected her. You all knew what her platform was. And you all was like, look, I don't have too many qualms with Mayor Parker because who she is who she was. And so she's been pretty consistent. And, you know, transparency I've gotten from her as a journalist. There has been people that have critiqued the fact that the press was not, you know, allowed to interact or come to when they did what they were doing, the cleanup or whatever they did in Kensington last week. There has been some concerns about the role of the free press in this administration. I haven't had personal problems with the Park administration. I'm not saying in my experience, everyone's experience. I'm just saying that when a brother wasn't given a press pass for 8 years in the Kennedy administration, nobody said, let's care about this black journalist over here, all these white reporters that's complaining about Parker. Nobody said, let's check up on this black journalist who's experienced this. So I ain't gonna hold you, but there's a lot of racism and racial bias in the Philadelphia media ecosystem. And when it comes to black journalists being barred or not being access to rooms, these white reporters sit up and they turn their back, they turn their chin, they say, good luck with that. And so to these white reporters out here that did that shit to me, good luck with that. I'm sorry. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's 2024. Everybody beefing nowadays. It's just that for me, I just feel like it's always interesting how we make these arguments about free speech and free press and free access when white people feel slighted. But when black people was being slighted by the Kennedy administration, when he was fucking with, you know, Philadelphia Magazine, trying to stop reporters from getting access and getting press releases, when I wasn't given a press badge or whatever, nobody said anything except for my newsroom. None of you all knew what was happening. You saw me not being able to access this space. Now, the moment I got here, day motherfucking one, on Inauguration Day, this mayor made sure I had an all access pass. And let me be very clear. She knew on day one, before day one, that I was going to hold her accountable and fairly cover and critique her administration. So, excuse me to some of these white reporters who want to all of a sudden do their jobs or half their jobs when it comes to advocating and discussing these issues around free press and access. Sorry, just not going to give a fuck as much as people think people should. Sorry, just not. 8 years, nearly a decade. And it's funny because a lot of people are passive aggressive. I'm going to go there. Let me go there today. Let me go there on this podcast because, I'm fired up and I'm ready to go. Let me go there because it's so, these Philly power brokers are so full of shit. So full of shit. And I talked about this a couple podcast episodes ago, but I want to say it again, is that they will use people like me that speak truth to power, that call things out. They will love to see me on the margins forever suffering and fighting to get the basic essentials I need to do my job. And they will sit there, feed me the mess, and still smile with these people that they talking shit about and still be telling me, fight the good fight. I'm not fighting no fight alone. I'm not. You do this to black women. You do this to young people all the time. You use them as your mules to fuel your fucking beefs. And then when we are burnt out, exhausted, tired, and through, then you just, discard us and give on. I will not be discarded. I will not be burnt out. I will not be fucked over. I'm moving the way I need to move to do what I need to do to preserve my well-being, my safety, and my ability to have longevity that will surpass the number of years that Mayor Parker is in office. Some of y'all want to play checkers, and other people want to play Monopoly, because I don't play chess either, but I'm playing Monopoly. There's a bigger picture here. And so many people want to use the most outspoken black voices to do it, right? But everybody else do what they want to do. Everybody else, them 8 years that I was getting fucked over by Kenny, everybody was sitting around taking pictures, getting these mayor appointments, getting these little jobs, getting this funding and all that. And they would come to me and tell me about the parties and events they went to and all the press conferences that I couldn't get to cover because this motherfucker was barring me the fuck out. Oh, everybody was like, oh, you didn't miss much. And tip me off about Kenny saying this and Kenny saying that. And I used to be a bird. Back in the day, I used to be a bird. I used to be like, oh, really? Interesting. And I would talk, but I was like, wait a minute. If these people support me, why is none of them advocating on my behalf and making sure I get the fuck in that room? Oh, because then that would cost them their ticket, their seat. So I was already the outsider. So the goal was, give the outsider the thing, right? Give the outsider the thing to do. And then he's going to carry the torch and he's going to start the fight. But then we're going to just watch and we'll laugh at him or we'll talk about him behind his back or we'll be in the group chat or we'll like something. We won't like it publicly, but we'll text him. I got a list of y'all, right? Y'all know I know who y'all are, right? And if I was really that bitch, I would air all of you all out on this podcast and name you by name and what you did. But no, it's all good. Because my mindset is there's no need to get even when you was already gone. I don't got to get even because I got gone. I just said, I'm going to exit this chat. I'm going to get on the other side and do what I got to do. Now, some of the same people in this administration, now some of the same people that used to be in that room with Kenny, they're on the outskirts. Now they coming to me being like, oh, hey, friend, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Somebody told me one time, I'll never forget these words. This man told me when he knew my situation, he said, well, good luck with that. And so that's my term for all of this. Good luck with that. Because as my good Judy said to me, if you say no, it'll be a no forever. Law Roach gave a verb with that. Because that's how I feel about it. If you say no, it'll be a no forever. We'll talk more about Law Roach in a minute, but that's what it feels like for me. That's what it feels like. I don't do back and forth. I don't do backseas. I don't do all that reverse giving. I don't do that. So they want to be mad at her. They want to complain about all these little hardships they're having. It's always something. It is what it is. You all knew what you were getting when you voted for it. Don't be surprised. You all said law and order, tough on crime. We need to do something. She's doing it, and everyone wants to act shocked that she's doing. You know why? Because you're used to incompetent leaders with no conviction and no standing on business. You can dislike how she's operating on this, and that is fair to critique. But don't you sit up here and act like you did not know what she was going to do. She literally said, don't watch what I say, watch what I do. She's doing it, people. She's doing it. She said it. I don't know why y'all don't believe black women. She's a black woman who told you what she was going to do. Don't know what you thought. Don't know what you thought. I just hope that everyone involved in that situation, she's proposing a triage program, which I do find to be very smart, right? She wants to build a triage that's going to create multiple departments, city government, and resources to not only, the goal is not to lock people and put people in jail. That's not what she's trying to do. She wants to create a facility that allows people to get the resources they can get and the treatment they can, but also a pathway to getting jobs and opportunities. She wants to galvanize these resources that we currently have in the city and these departments and these agencies to work with each other to provide a more reasonable pathway to recovery for these individuals. It's not just displacement. It's not just throw them out to the wolves. It's none of that, right? She wants to do that work because the current, the previous, Kennedy administration response was give them clean needles, give them, these opportunities to have access to these drugs where, you could do it in a clean environment. They wasn't giving them the drugs, but they were giving them clean tools to be able to facilitate. And so there was literally an open drug market out there in Kensington. There was lots of drug dealers out there. And there was violence because drug dealers was fighting, people who were afflicted were partaking in some of this. There was a lot going on. And no one is, at the end of the day, everybody who want to talk about it, I get it. I hear all the concerns. But when you have to live out there and see what those people see, when I went down there and I went to a restaurant, Casa La Morena, that is that incredible James Beard nominated Mexican restaurant in Kensington. I went down there to eat. When I walked, I didn't even think it was Cantonina La Marina. That's what it was. That's the name of the restaurant. Great food. Some of the best food. Dr. Parks and I want us to go there to get this margarita they have with a popsicle. It's the best margarita I've had in Philly. Want to go there. Problem is, when you look outside before the cleanup, addiction. People who are struggling with addiction. Needles are on the floor. Needles are on the floor. Infected needles are everywhere. There's trash. It's depressing. It's traumatizing. It's triggering. And when I was in that restaurant, the hospitality handled it with so much grace and dignity. But they knew, right? There were every time we were there, it was happy hour. There were people clearly there coming in. They would come in. They was not there to eat or drink, but they would come in and walk in. They would need to use the bathroom or whatever. They would have to clean those bathrooms. They would not let people inject themselves in those bathrooms. They was giving them water. They had little baggies of food and things that they would give them, but they couldn't, they knew not to dwell in the restaurant. But it is serious. The quality of life is serious. Kids having to walk down the street, elderly people who've been infected by those needles having to get an HIV test every 3 months. This is the shit that is also happening. So everybody wants to tell people what to do in their districts and areas, but the quality of life for the people, something had to change. And if you lived over there and you had to see that, you would expect government to respond a different way as well. It's so easy to come with these books and yes, reading is fundamental. And yes, there's supposed to be empathy. But sometimes you just got to be fucking realistic and practical about the things you're expecting other people to endure that you don't have to. Everybody always wants to tell people what road to take and how to take a stance position. But when you have to look at how that's going to stack up in your life and how you're going to live, it's a very different conversation. The hypocrisy of Americans, the hypocrisy of Philadelphians, the hypocrisy of millennials and Gen Zers and other folks. There is a hypocrisy about what we expect and what we demand from others that we do not do within our own spaces and ourselves. You don't afford the luxury and the quality of living that you have off of the oppression of other people. And it's wrong. And if you want to do something about it, make the real fucking sacrifices. But no, we shovel it to somebody else all the fucking time. So easy. So easy. So easy to be mad, and you should be. And you should. But don't be so quick to judge other decision makers on what they had to do for their way of life to protect other folks. It's not easy being a politician. Some people, it's a little too easy because they ain't doing shit. But for those that's trying to sit down and weigh various options, don't assume that people just out here making just fast, quick, and hot. Nah, it's not like that. It's not like that all the time. And so it's so easy. But when the question becomes, what do you do? Because for 8 years, the Kennedy administration had the opportunity to do something different and alternative. They didn't. And all their supporters and advocates didn't really put much fire on them to do much. So now she comes with an alternative plan and everybody wants to be mad and wants to do all this and the third. Well, what was supposed to happen? You just want to keep going down there videotaping and filming people that's destitute? You think that's the answer? Like every year we hear some new conversation. Like fuck. Leadership is about taking tough decisions. As a leader in my own right, I've made tough decisions. And sometimes tough decisions are not popular decisions, and oftentimes they're not. But at the end of the day, if it's a decision that she can live with and she can navigate through, damn it, is a lot better than what the previous mayor did. That's what I got. That's what I got on it. I think sometimes people just are so quick. It's so easy to sit back somewhere and critique. So, more critique. Marilyn Mosby, who was a former Baltimore City State's attorney. I couldn't get in contact with my Baltimore. I forgot to reach out to my Baltimore correspondent, Mr. Joe Hamilton, who knows a lot about Baltimore, and I wanted to know what he thinks about this. He'll probably tell me after you listen to this episode, because I actually do want to know what he thinks and what you think, Joe. I know you're listening. What you think about this, I just want to know what your thoughts are about Marilyn Mosby. But she is asking for a pardon. She feels like she was in the middle of a political, she was in the middle of a political bias towards her. For taking on tough cases. She was when she was the Baltimore City State's attorney, she oversaw the Freddie Gray case. That was a big deal. She oversaw a lot of major civil rights issues, but the big one was when she was one of the first in the city to take on the law enforcement for the killing of Freddie Gray, right? As we all know, the individual who murdered him, because I consider it a murder, was the officer was not convicted, in spite of a lot of the work that she tried to do at the time. It was very unfortunate. But since then, she's found herself in trouble. She was convicted, earlier this year, she was convicted on one count of making a false mortgage application and previously convicted on 2 counts of perjury. Now, this comes from the United States Attorney's Office of the District of Maryland. Basically, they said a federal judge convicted Marilyn Mosby, who is 44 years old, on the federal charge of making a false mortgage application when she was Baltimore City State's attorney. Now, this is relating to the purchase of a condo in Longboat Key, Florida. The jury acquitted her of making a false mortgage application related to her purchase of a home in Kissimmee, Florida. But she was convicted for the other one. The conviction was announced by United States Attorney for the District of Maryland, Eric L. Barron, Acting Special Agent in charge, R. Joseph Rothrock of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, that's the FBI, and others. Now, Attorney Eric Barron said, U.S. Attorney Eric L. Barron said, quote, "We humbly respect the court's considered rulings, opposing counsel's zealous advocacy, and the wisdom of both jury verdicts in this case, and we remain focused on our mission to uphold the rule of law." Now, an FBI individual said, Ms. Mosby's conduct undermines the confidence the public deserves to have in their government officials. The jury's decision holds Ms. Mosby accountable for disregarding the law she swore to uphold. The FBI works diligently to ensure that anyone who engages in fraud and corruption will be held accountable for their bad acts. Now, according to the evidence of the trial, in February 2021, during the pandemic, she made a false statement in application for a $428,400 mortgage to purchase a condo in Longboat Key, Florida. As a part of the application, Mosby falsely stated that she had received a $5,000 gift from her husband to be applied to the purchase of the property. According to the evidence presented at the trial, Mosby made this statement in order to secure a lower interest rate. According to the evidence of the trial, Mosby did not receive a $5,000 gift from her husband, but rather transferred $5,000 to him, and then he transferred the $5,000 back to her. She faces a maximum of 30 years in federal prison for making a false mortgage application. So previously, for those who do not know, on November of 2023, last year, she was previously convicted on 2 counts of perjury relating to the withdrawal of funds from the City of Baltimore's Deferred Compensation Plan, claiming that she suffered adverse financial consequences during COVID-19 pandemic while she was the Baltimore City State's attorney. She faces a maximum sentence of 5 years in federal prison for each of the 2 counts of perjury. So she's got a maximum of up to 40 years behind bars for what she's been doing. She's been convicted of 2 separate crimes for 2 separate issues. Now, she's no longer with her husband, who was the council president. They're no longer together. I think that, I don't know if he was aware of what she did. I don't know if he was aware that she was doing what she was doing. They're no longer together. It's a question of whether or not she implicated him in doing this, based on the nature of the situation. But it just looks very salacious. She has been arguing now for Biden to pardon her. She's out here with Angela Rye, who was an attorney, she's been on CNN. She has this podcast called Promised Land. I believe it's Promised Land podcast. Yeah, not Flopland. I'm sorry. It's Promised Land podcast. And she's been on this crusade to try to advocate and get a petition for Mosby to be dropped of these charges, to be pardoned from Biden. She's claiming that she has been done wrong and there's a political, agenda against her for speaking up for Black people, all this shit. I'm sorry, y'all, but it's bullshit for me. I gotta call cap. I've met Marilyn Mosby many years ago, back in 2015, during the NAACP convention in Philadelphia. Nice woman. She was a lovely woman then. But lately, this whole charade, I just get annoyed when elected officials oftentimes try to use one good deed they do to try to exonerate them from fuck shit that they do. Now, let me be very clear. These are crimes that are not violent crimes. I personally do not support mass incarceration, so I don't really want her to go to jail. I don't want her to go to prison. I don't think they should lock her up for this. These are harmless, violent crimes. They're white-collar crimes, but they're not crimes that requires her to be spending time behind bars. So I don't really think she should get locked up. However, I do think that she should be disbarred. I do think that she should not be able to practice law. I don't think that she should be able to, in my opinion, I don't think that she should be able to, just walk away free. Like, you definitely, you have been convicted. You are a convicted felon. And I don't think, if you thought that you was done wrong, you could have appealed. Where's the appeals? I just feel like it's obvious today what you did. And I'm not saying that you should go to prison. I want to be very clear. I don't want this mother, I don't want this woman, this black woman to be locked up behind bars. And I don't think they're going to put her in prison. I think they're probably going to, I mean, she doesn't have a criminal record before this. I don't think she's going to be put in prison. I don't know. I hope not. I don't think she is. But now Angela Rye is, putting her on The Breakfast Club with Charlamagne the God, of course. She is putting her on her podcast. They've pushed this campaign asking for her to be pardoned by President Joe Biden. Let me say this, Joe. If you pardon Marilyn Mosby before you pardon people on these goddamn student loans, we're going to have a problem. Okay? This is not worth the president's time. I think that first of all, you're putting the president in a sticky situation. Because right now, this president wants Trump behind bars. Okay? Lock his ass up. This president wants to address political corruption. There is political corruption. There's indictments. There's stuff happening all across the Democratic Party right now in various congressional Senate races and seats. I don't want the president to get caught up in this, that this becomes the thing that is used to dismiss accountability around Trump. Not to say that the people that support Trump are going to support Trump. It's just that what will happen is for middle of the road voters, they'll say, okay, I'm confused. He can pardon him. Well, are you going to pardon Trump if Trump get locked up? Are you going to pardon, it's going to be these conversations around pardons. No, we're not doing that right now. And here's the thing. If she gets locked up, which I don't think is going to happen, but if she gets locked up, and let me be very clear, they have not sentenced her yet. Her sentence is coming apparently in the next couple of weeks. But if she gets locked up, let Biden get elected and get put in office in his second term. Let him become a lame duck, and then let him pardon her after he gets reelected. Don't ask him to do this right now. And to be honest, Angela is like, see, this is what I don't get. This is why I cannot with the Angela Rise and the who else is on that damn show? I mean, it's so many irrelevance. But Tiffany Cross, right? They get on here, they spit their podcast talking about what Biden has done for the black community, what Biden done this and this. You bring her on The Breakfast Club where Charlamagne the God is an asshole trying to act like what has Biden really done, and she's got to stop him and tell him. And I respected Angela for doing that. Like, she was talking and doing her call to action, and in the midst of her doing this call to action, Charlamagne was trying to stir the pot again and do this whole, well, what has Biden really done, blah, blah, blah bullshit. And she's like, not right now, not when I'm asking for a call to action. I will say she knew. She knew in that moment not to do that, because here's the thing. You can't ask for somebody to pardon somebody, but then say they're not shit in the same space and sentence. I feel like her marketing is off. I think that the whole campaign to call this part is a little too late. Y'all doing this so late. Y'all doing this right before she's sentenced. To be honest, everybody want to see what the sentence is. Why are you asking for him to call a pardon before there's actual sentence? Pardon her from what? And also, let's be real. Is there really corruption? She's really trying to make this conspiracy theory that she did this. Here's what I think happened. I think that she did what they said she did. The evidence is there. The receipts are there. Your husband isn't really even backing you. I'm sorry, your ex-husband. Y'all broke up, whatever. But child, girl, you did it. And I don't think you should be locked up. But at the end of the day, be real about what you did. Because see, that's the problem. We talk all this holistic talk about, black woman this and this person that. But sometimes when we see stuff that just ain't right, you do got to call a thing, right? You do got to acknowledge when there is something off. I don't think she should be locked up, but I do think she did it. And I do think that she does not need to be wasting her energy trying to get the president of the United States to pardon her. I'm not signing that petition, and I'm not going to make it a big old thing in public. I'm not going to shit on the parade on social media. I'm just not going to say nothing. All I got to say about it is on this podcast. And y'all can go run back and tell all of them about what I said. I don't care. But I'm just keeping it here on the podcast. But I'm not going to make it a whole thing. I'm not trying to be a counter, because I know how the media get. I know how the streets get, right? They'll say, blah, 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 blah. However, because so many of you all reached out to me and asked me what my thoughts were, I just felt like I just wanted you all to know where I stood on the issue. So I'm just gonna leave that there. Mm. The tea is hot today, isn't it? So the Met Gala. So Met Gala this year was underwhelming. It was underwhelming. There was a garden theme. There was a Sleeping Beauty theme. There were some people that totally ate. I love Cardi B's dress. A lot of you all wish Cardi B wore the green dress, but she said that the lighting and the camera work wasn't going to make it look as good as it may appear on the video. Um, Zendaya, however you want to name her, Zendaya ate. Okay, she ate. She was one of the hosts of the Met Gala this year. She ate. Both of her looks were phenomenal. The girl is that girl, and she's working it. And that's thanks to the incredible genius of Law Roach, who's been with her since she was 13 and 14. He's been working with her since she was 13, 14 years old. They've had an over decades long relationship, and she is only going to get better with time. I mean, she's currently 27 years old. She turns 28 in September. They've been rocking with each other since her Disney Channel days. They've been rocking together like double her life. Half of her life, they've been connecting. They've been working together. This woman has a Golden Globe, 2 Primetime Emmy Awards. Like, Zendaya is that girl. And she's gorgeous. And she's so influential. But yeah, she's doing her thing. She's 5'10", y'all. Like, she's got some model height in her. But she's killing it. She's killing it. Yeah, Zendaya is killing it. She's just doing it. Law Roach has been doing some recent interviews, and I've been really loving him. I'm loving that he's out here. He's been, talking about how he took a break for 7 months to focus on his mental health and his well-being, just took a break. He calls himself being in retirement, but he's like playing around with it. But he's just so down to earth and so deep and just so thoughtful. And before white women and all the sycophants try to claim him, say this is ours, baby. He's ours. This is ours. He's ours. Y'all can't take everybody as black and queer and try to. He's ours. Law Roach is ours. He is just yes. But he was talking about one of the things that stood out to him, and before I get to what he said, I want to just think about the other Met Gala outfits that I liked. Who did I not like? I don't know what the hell Doja Cat was doing. Doja Cat, not scat. I don't know what Doja Cat was doing. I don't really know what Kim Kardashian was doing, that cardigan thing. Who was good dressed men? Were there any good dressed men? Lil Nas X's outfit was nice. He's annoying right now, but his outfit was great. I liked his look. A really good look. He had a really, really good look. Who else? Oh, Queen Latifah brought her, I don't like this word partner, I'm going to say lover, brought her lover out with her to the Met Gala, and they looked grand, and they looked good. Queen Latifah has been very, I don't want to say subtle anymore. She's not doing the whole I'm out thing, but she's just doing her thing. And it's not like she's in the closet about anything. She's just not going to be that advocate, like outward. Like, she is an advocate, though. I mean, she's just not, she's just normalized. Like, she just comes and do her thing. And I can respect that. And she's not saying, like, this is my wife. She just, she's just grooving. I like that for her. I love that for her. She's one of the most prominent female MCs in hip hop, one of the most prominent women in hip hop music. She's a pioneer. She's a legend. She's a Grammy. She's an Emmy. She's a Golden Globe. She's been nominated for Oscar. Like, she's Queen Latifah. Like, she's got a show. She's been on TV for over 25 years in some type of capacity. She's got a show right now that my husband loves called The Equalizer, child. When y'all be wondering who be watching those shows on CBS and stuff, that's him. He watches Law and Order every week religiously. He watches The Equalizer every week. He is a old soul. He is a broadcast TV aholic. Me, okay, I watch Abbott Elementary, but that's about it. I only watch Abbott Elementary. I don't really watch anything on like broadcast TV. Like, I watch cable shows and streaming channels, but he loves The Equalizer. When y'all be asking who watches that show, that's him. He DVRs it. And he DVRs Law and Order. He's the one watching those shows every week religiously. But she's got that show, and it's in its fifth season, which is a big deal. So, Queen Latifah's doing her thing. She was also really well dressed, and I really liked her outfit. So back to Law Roach's interviews. So he talked about how the five major brands at one point in time was really not trying to dress Zendaya up. Some of them included Chanel, Dior, a couple other big brands, but they didn't want to dress her up on the red carpet. And they said no. And people said, well, she wasn't really ready back then. Let me tell y'all something. That's bullshit. Fashion designers do not go for the completely official people. Let me clarify that again. They don't go, like, if you're in a fashion house, right, and you're trying to get models or people, they don't wait for a famous person to be super, super famous when they decide to dress them. In the fashion world, they go for the it girl, the new girl, the rising star, the Anna Taylor-Joys, the Florences, they go for the up and coming, like the new girl that's out. What's her name? Sabrina Carpenter. They go for those girls who are about to start. Ariana Grande was that girl. Like, they go for the new girls that are about to come up on the scene. Like when Dua Lipa was starting, they put her in outfits, Valentino and things like that. That's what they do. They get the new up and coming girls. Zendaya is the girl now, but she was an it girl when she started, Euphoria. If Zendaya would have been white at that part of her career when she started, she would have had major designers dressing her. She's got the body, the height, and everything. They did not do it because she was black. Because those fashion houses are racist. They wait with black women, they move the goalposts. They wait for a black girl or a black woman to be already there before they begin to put clothes on them. With Zendaya, she's different. It's a new era. She was already given couture and fashion. There should have been an opportunities for her. They didn't want it. Law Roach was doing his thing. They did not want it. Now they want it. And Law Roach does not do it. Okay, Law Roach do not do it. He does not give her. Louboutin, she's been rocking Louboutin for years. Apparently there's it's a Call Me Kate or something heel that she wears all the time. It's like a nude pump that she wears that is hell on feet. But because she's been wearing them for so long and she knows her feet, that's all she can wear now. She's stature-less. She's a model. But like, they never wanted to put her in that couture. And so I saw people on the internet being like, well, now she's established, so now they want to. I was like, y'all don't get it. Y'all don't know how fashion works. That's not how it works. Fashion always goes for who they think is the next, because they want to basically cement the future. They will say, who's got next? That's who we need to be putting the clothes on, because when she blossoms, like Julia Roberts was that it girl. Like they was putting her in those nice couture gowns and vintage Chanel and things. They knew that Julia Roberts had that it factor, but they didn't do that well. I mean, Rihanna is an exception, I think. I think they tried, but Rihanna is also unique. But Rihanna had that it factor. I don't know when they started dressing her. But when you look at some of the girls will later on will wear the clothes, right? But Law Roach was like, no, you're not going to now get to throw things on her now. But if you look at her on the red carpet, she was not wearing a lot of those brands, and there was a reason why. They was not trying to put her in those gowns. It's very telling. It's very telling. But his famous line he said was that if you say no, it'll be a no forever. And he's lived with that. And that's why you have not seen Zendaya in a lot of pieces. Law has went to vintage places. They buy. They do not borrow. They buy pieces. They design. They rent. They get all these different pieces. But he has turned her into a glamorous fashionista. And then she can actually act. And she has talent. Oh, goodness, that girl. If I was to bet who would get an Oscar in the next 5 years, I'm banking on her. The next new girl to get an Oscar, I'm banking on her. I see it for her in her future. I see an Oscar coming for her very soon. I wonder if she'll be the second black woman to get an Oscar, because it doesn't look like they're trying to give Viola Davis one. I mean, she's got an Oscar, but I'm talking about the lead actress. Halle Berry is still the only black woman to have a lead actress Academy Award. Still, we don't have the other. We have plenty of supporting actresses. We got tons of black supporting, well, I won't say tons, but we got some, right? We got Whoopi Goldberg, we got Jennifer Hudson, we got Regina King, we got Viola Davis, we got Octavia Spencer. We got some in that department. But we don't have, I would argue we don't have enough, we don't have enough in other, in the lead actress categories, I would say. And that's the thing that's the bummer. Divine Joy Randolph just won this year. Lots in supporting actress. But our lead actresses, it's not the same. Even when you look at the people who get nominated in multiple categories, they'll put tons of nominated actresses. You look at The Color Purple. We look at the actresses that was involved in that. You got Danielle Brooks. Taraji P. Henson was nominated. Danielle Brooks was nominated. Spreading it out. Just saying. So, this came up, and this brought up with the Met Gala, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this. So lately, there's been this call on social media to block and ban a bunch of celebrities that has either not spoken on Palestine and what's going on in Israel, block the designers at the Met Gala who designed them and the brands, like a whole blackout. There are people that are saying, we need to block, certain celebrities. Some celebrities they want to block that they feel like are either pro-Israel, extreme Zionists. Some people want to block those individuals. People like, Amy Schumer. Now, I'm not a fan of Amy Schumer. I was not a fan of Amy Schumer even before this, because the racism of Amy Schumer's jokes and Sarah Silverman's jokes and the blackface that Sarah Silverman did, I was already blocking them in my mind and in my life long before this war happened, right? And also, Amy Schumer's just trash for her Islamophobia. You can have your positions and your beliefs politically, but to be Islamophobic and to play into certain types of stereotypes, yeah, girl, that's a chop for me, right? And that's one thing. But they've asked for all types of stuff. They said Beyonce, they said Usher, they said all these different people that they want to call all types of names. Anybody who don't say anything they want to ban is this, and this. Let me just say this with this, right? I'm going to just put this as food for thought. I'm just going to plant a seed here. There's been so much celebrity obsession in these recent years. I want to say the past 10 years have been annoying as fuck to be in celebrity culture, because the stan culture has just gotten so out of hand. It's gotten so delusional. It's gotten so annoying. It's gotten so catty, bitchy, petty, worthless, that it dilutes real, actual social justice movement. When I see people, everyday people, or even people that call themselves activists, obsess over celebrities in a way that they ask or want them to be so pivotal or influential, quote unquote, on matters around global influence and politics at a certain extent, I'd start to tell myself, you're not serious about the actual causes that you speak of. And let me explain why. So let me just put a disclaimer that it's one thing if you're doing a movement that's calling for accountability of celebrities when they're doing things of harm in their respective spaces. So Harvey Weinstein, yes, there should have been a movement to get Harvey Weinstein's ass up out of Hollywood, right? There should be a movement to mute R. Kelly, right? There should be a movement to say fuck Bill Cosby, right? Yes, I'm all for that. And I support cancellation. I support all of that. I'm for that. If you see an artist or somebody that's racist and we find them to be, a violator, absolutely, right? As a consumer, you can do what? Yes, I'm all for that. But that's because it's within their lane and within their realm of scope. When we get to the issue I get here when I see a lot of people on social media do this, these movement organizers or whatever, what I've noticed is that there is this mindset, right, that is so easy to assume celebrities' political positions. It's so easy to go after celebrities. But you know who it's actually harder to go after? It's actually harder to mobilize and actually do the work, or is it? Is it? That's the funny question. Actual politicians who vote on where our funding goes, actual politicians who determines the nation's priorities when it comes to foreign issues. You know, for all of these online social media movements that are so obsessed and fixated on trying to make a celebrity say Palestine, that's going to be so focused on making a celebrity, quote unquote, use their platform. You knew where they were and who they were during Black Lives Matter. And quite frankly, it's interesting because so many celebrities were given a pass during Black Lives Matter when there were issues impacting Black and brown people, right? Black people in America, right? It was so interesting how so many people were given a pass on that. But when it came to this issue, you expect them to now understand global politics. You expect them to now sacrifice their livelihoods and their reputations and their contracts and their deals and their way of life so that they can take a position on this issue that you feel like everyone should stop on. But you didn't ask them to on abortion. You didn't ask them to on, stem cell research. You didn't ask them to on climate change. You didn't ask them to. And there's always an issue, right? That is the life or death issue, the consequential crisis of our time. I'm not saying that all issues matter, but if you're in a celebrity mindset, you get to a point where, well, God damn it, you will say all things. And there's a sense of celebrities, but they're fans who don't get it. Because here's the thing, right? And I'm going to speak about Black celebrities specifically. You want Black celebrities to take these risks. Because let's be real. If they take a position on it publicly, right? You know what's coming next. We've already seen it, right? Endorsement deals, contracts, narratives, whatever. Are you going to have that same energy to protect that celebrity, to make sure that celebrity don't get blackballed, to make sure that entertainer doesn't face any severe consequences with their career? That person that you like so much will not probably have a career if they do it the way that you want them to. And then, they just don't do music anymore the way that you want. And the dream that they had, the way that they had their livelihoods, you don't want them to, right? Okay. So, there's a reality of that for you all, no one's thinking beyond that because they're just like, use your platform. And then you want to, quote unquote, cancel them because they don't, right? But the reality is they'll be canceled anyway if they do, right? Oh, okay. But the interesting thing about it, right, is that all this fixation on celebrities and this energy and these campaigns and all this time online, what if this cohort from city to city organized specifically on their elected officials, their Congress people, who are the ones that vote on these bills, that said one by one, we don't want this congressperson because this congressperson supported this damn bill. We want to replace them with somebody that we know is not going to do that. What if we spend more energy uplifting the celebrities that are doing the right thing or the things that we think matter, right? The Weeknd, right? Why not amplify what The Weeknd has been doing in this issue that aligns with your beliefs? Why not amplify him, amplify his music, amplify the artists that are doing the things you want them to do? Because we spend so much time talking about what we don't like and who we don't like in this movement space that the people that are doing it are not actually getting any love. Fiona Apple is doing a lot right now just around social justice issues in general. We ain't talking about Fiona Apple enough. We ain't talking about enough about how Fiona Apple, during Mother's Day, mobilized resources to work to raise thousands of dollars to bail Black mothers from jail on Mother's Day. Did you know that? Did you know that Fiona Apple did that? The Fiona Apple? Oh, okay. Did you know that, The Weeknd is giving millions of dollars in humanitarian efforts to support families in Gaza right now? Oh, okay. There are people doing the work, and you can amplify them. You can also amplify elected officials who are speaking up and speaking out. Now, I will say, to Biden's credit, Biden says he's not giving any weapons to Rafah. He's not giving the Israeli government, weapons to bomb in Rafah. listen, the work, right? But beyond that, amplify the celebrities that are doing the right thing. Spend less time telling us who to block and tell us who to follow. Spend more time telling us the weekend is out here doing that work. Fuck your fave. The weekend is doing it. The weekend is really doing it, to be honest. Have anybody, no one's really, and granted, mainstream media is not talking about what the weekend is doing because we already know why. But the weekend is really out here doing the work, y'all. And I don't hear nobody online amplifying him enough in those spaces, those organizing spaces. I don't hear them playing his music, using his music as a beckoning call of support. Nobody's amplifying the weekend enough. And this man has made stances on. I have a lot of respect for the weekend, just on even what he's done regarding the issue around the Grammys. He don't even submit his shit to the Grammys anymore. He doesn't even play that game with them anymore. And that man still charts. He still got supporters. He's still out here selling out arenas and stadiums. Support the weekend. Amplify that dude. Talk about Fiona Apple and what the hell she doing. But y'all spend so much time every week talking about so-and-so has yet to say this. So-and-so has yet to say that. You know, everybody talking about Malcolm Moore. They hyping up Malcolm Moore. Child, fuck Malcolm Moore. But Malcolm Moore is using this platform to do some good things out here. I'm just over him with the hip hop shit, child. But people like what Malcolm Moore is doing on this issue over there in the Middle East, though, right? But that's what I'm saying. Everybody want to talk about all these other people and all this, but they not saying what they doing. Child, they ain't saying nothing because they don't know what to say, or maybe they don't agree with your politics, or maybe they scared. But there are some fearless people out here that's doing something different. And rather than spend all this time trying to convince us to stop following Usher, it ain't gonna happen, child. I'm sorry. Go find another one, baby. I'm not gonna unfollow Usher unless Usher, it ain't happening right now, baby. I'm sorry. We're just gonna agree to disagree on that, Usher, and we're gonna keep it moving, baby. But like I don't know. I just feel like the way, as somebody who has been in these rooms, who have had conversations, who have seen real successful organizing movements happen nationally, but also locally on the ground, this ain't it. This ain't it. This shaming celebrities just to, like, I saw this video with Alec Baldwin. He was at a coffee shop, and Alec Baldwin is trash. Let's be clear. Alec Baldwin is trash. I don't fuck with him. But they saw him, this person come up to me at a coffee shop and just kept trying to get him to say Palestine. Just harassing him for like minutes on end. Just kept going up to him, trying to make him say Palestine, call him, and then even taunting him and disrespecting him. It was like, that's the cause. That's gonna help stop people from dying, going up and like, and these are white, and it's the white progressive organizers. They annoying because I ain't seeing nobody black out here doing all that childish shit. It's them white progressives that love to do that stupid shit. Like, because black folks, we ain't doing that. If we calling for justice, we calling in out, we calling inwardly, we having a different kind of conversation. But going to a coffee shop, spotting Alec Baldwin somewhere at a coffee shop with a camera being like, say Palestine, what a fucking waste of time. And what a distraction from real work. Like, I just feel like also the organizing efforts is being done, it's childish and it's very immature and it's not even the work. Like, it's not the work. Like, it's not. It's just like these performative ass gestures. So what? You bully him to say Palestine, and what do you get? A cookie? A falafel? A pita bread? What the fuck do you get? You get nothing. You get nothing for actually doing that. If anything, you like an asshole on the internet. I saw the video and I was like, why is this girl bothering him? Girl, leave him alone. And then he finally pops off on the camera, and then the camera goes off. And so then she says, oh, Alec Baldwin assaulted me after I... Child, that's not what happened. You harassed and berated this grown-ass white man who you know have a history of popping off, and you kept bothering him and rolling up on him when he told you politely, leave him the fuck alone. At some point, what again, that's not activism. That's antagonizing. Activism and antagonizing are not the same thing. If your activism is antagonizing people more than antagonizing injustice, you're doing it wrong, sweetie. You're doing it wrong. I just want to get that off my chest. I get too many people DMing me, telling me about this celebrity, this and this and this and this. And I'm just like, y'all, some of this is like, it's petty. And it's not getting us any closer to peace. Keep patting these celebrities who's giving the money. The Weeknd out here dropping millions. Tell him good job, Weeknd. Keep going. So you keep giving money. Because Beyonce ain't going to do it. And your other faves ain't either. Stop asking them. Stop, oh, well, why is Kendrick not speaking? What the fuck? Y'all better look at what type of man Kendrick is. If y'all knew who Kendrick is, y'all know Kendrick ain't saying nothing. But also, before I get into my Ask Ernest, because this is a good, juicy question, but also, aren't y'all tired of making black people the mules of everything y'all do politically? Why are black people always the ones being called to do all the things? Why? Because y'all just look at us and think social justice button? Y'all don't ever come to white people with the same expectations. I mean, seriously, it's funny because everyone always expects black people to always be the group that always has to be the one to weigh in on everything and be the lexicon. Sometimes black people just want peace. Sometimes black people have to preserve their energy for the real shit. Because tomorrow, a black and brown woman and child could get shot in the middle of the street. And guess who got to get up there and say something? Black people. And guess what the rest of y'all gonna do? Say nothing and move on. So when you're living in a world where there's so many issues happening across the world, sometimes you just may need some peace of mind. Sometimes you should just step in for your black friend who is exhausted and do that work and carry that labor because you don't got to worry about that in the white community. You don't got to worry about any other community. Maybe black folks just need some rest. Maybe that's just what it is. Maybe we're just tired of always having to speak on something. Because when we spoke about one thing, we almost got canceled. And then we speak about something else, we almost got canceled. Well, goddamn it, we just picking our battles and choosing them wisely. Maybe that's the answer. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just taking a wild guess. Moving along to Ask Ernest. I really love this question this week. No, it's not about relationships, but it kind of is. So let me read this. Hey, Ernest, what's up? Congrats on another successful semester at Cheyney University. I know those students are definitely missing you. Hope that you continue to teach at somebody's college, whether it's HBCU or wherever. Keep doing your thing, brother. I had this really important question to ask you, and I think you need to answer it, and I hope that you choose me as this week's Ask Ernest, LOL. That's why I'm choosing you, because you got the question. So let me ask this. I've been seeing this viral video of this brother who got his braids, taken out by these young ladies. Everybody on the internet is going in. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about it. I used to teach, and when I saw the video, I kind of thought it was kind of cute. And I don't think he meant any harm. But now he's lost his job. Everybody's like judging him and saying he's a predator. People are now asking other questions about who he is and what he's about. And now it just seems to be worse than what he expected. How do you feel about this as a black educator? And do you think that the internet be going too far in canceling people? Thank you for that question. I have an answer. Okay. I have wrestled with this for the past couple of days. I have heard various arguments and I have arrived at my own conclusion. And it is complicated, but I have a conclusion. So my answer is simple. He was wrong. Sorry. He was wrong. He was wrong. He was wrong. He was wrong. So many reasons why he was wrong. And I got so many thoughts about it. First of all, let this be a lesson to all of you teachers, all of you employees, any of you all who are employed in the United States for a company, business, school, or institution. If you are not self-employed like myself, please exit the chat. This does not apply to you. But if you are someone employed at somebody's company or business, let this be a lesson for you. Stop fucking filming yourself at work, people. Stop putting all your business on TikTok. Stop trying to go fucking viral at your fucking place of work. Let's start there. Let's just start the fuck there. This starts with him and it ends with him. No one asked him to videotape himself. And he even started himself videoing himself, talking about some, let's shake up the whatever. He asked for the smoke and he got the smoke. He thought the shit was the fuck cute. Nobody asked him to do that. Y'all gonna stop going on the internet trying to go viral. As somebody who's an expert in virality on the internet, I am here to tell you all that the things that go viral nowadays are the things that you don't want to go viral. I wish the days of puppies licking people in the face and eating kids' ice cream cones. The days of America's Funniest Home Videos were the days of virality. I remember when America's Funniest Home Videos used to make things go viral in our bedrooms, in our homes. Now, social media is doing that work, and the shit has gotten crazy. I do not support what the hell didn't happen. No one asked that boy to have a camera. A lot of y'all want to be cute and want to be modern, want to be hip, want to be on TikTok with your kids and all that. Hell fucking no. Okay, have you all noticed that in my many years of teaching at Cheney University, and also when I was an instructor at West Philadelphia High School, and also when I was an instructor during the summer after school programs for Upward Bound at the University of Pennsylvania, you ain't never seen me with a camera with my students. I was never filming my students. I never filmed my interactions with my students. No, never did it. Never did it because I knew the consequences if I decide to do something like that. The risk that could happen. You know, for me, I thought about some of those risks. I think about them, right? First of all, as a young black, gay, open, let me back this up. As a openly black, gay, young teacher, instructor, professor, whatever the title is, I understand that there's a complexity there around interacting with youth. Now, I'm interacting with young adults as a professor, but even just young people in general, right? There are boundaries that have to be set. You have to establish boundaries. You have to establish the role as an adult, and you have to make sure that there's a level of interaction that just can't be tolerated. As an adult, as a professor, as an instructor, none of my students are touching me, okay? None of them. You're not putting my suit on. You're not giving me a massage. I don't have any braids. You're not brushing my hair. You're not spraying cologne on me. You're not doing any of that because there are boundaries as an instructor. So that's the first thing for me. You don't want to be in a situation where somebody can misread the room. You don't want to be in a situation where you can give off the wrong impression to a student or somebody can feel or interpret something in a way. You want to keep it professional. Now, let me be clear. Being professional doesn't mean you can't have a sense of humor, that you can't be nice, you can't be caring, but you got to recognize proper boundaries on that, right? I do hug my students. If my students say, oh, can I get a hug? Sure, I give hugs, right? Fine. But I don't go up to a student and ask a student for a hug. I don't go up to a student and give a student a hug without their consent. Everything is literally, a clear boundary. I don't kiss any of my students on any cheeks or anything like that. I don't do it. I shake hands. I high five. That's what I do for the most of the part. And it's not to say that, it's a damn shame that in this world we live in, blah, 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 blah. It's not that. It's just that at the end of the day, you do not ever want to put anything up for interpretation. And also, I treat it as a workplace, right? When I work in a school environment, professional space, whether I'm in an office, a conference, I apply the same nature of boundaries that I have with other people and other workspaces with adults that I do with students. Like, no, certain students will feel comfortable. Like, I will tell you, my students will be like, Professor Owens, follow me on Instagram. No, sir. No, ma'am. No. I'm not following you on any social media platforms because I don't need to see your page. I don't want to see your page. I don't want to see potential underage drinking. I always tell them, I always tease them and say, I will never follow you because I want to see you as a student you are in my class, and that's all I want to see you as. Period. Now, some of my students, my social media pages, are public. So some of them have gone on my social media page and seen my page, and they will come to class and try to say, oh, I saw you was turned at this. I said, at the end of the day, we're talking about the work here and we're going to focus on this. Okay. But you got to set boundaries. And to be honest, I would say 99% of students respect boundaries. What I mean by that is that if you are a professor that maintains a consistent professional boundary with a student, most students will actually have more respect for you and actually respect it and actually be like, you know what? He's serious and I'm going to actually respect his time. Like when I tell my students I want them on class on time and don't come to my class late and play in my face multiple times, they actually know they have to come correct. But you have to establish those boundaries very early. And so when I saw this man getting these young women to unbraid his hair, there's just so many things wrong with that. And it's not even a sexual thing. For starters, those are students, not your your beautician. Okay? I don't care if they want to do it. Let me explain something here. First of all, young women, young black girls doing unpaid labor is not a thing that should be happening. Seeing all them young girls pull out his hair with his bracelet hair, and they did that for free with no labor, and you thought that was cute, ain't wrong. That's the first thing. The second thing that really got me the most is that he not only did he do that, which was already for me like a red flag, like a that's just corny, but you do a whole video with them in the video, and I'm just like, why did you feel like you need to document this and videotape this? Like, they're underage. Do you think that you think their parents want to see their kids doing this? Even if the kids were okay with doing it, you think the parents want to see a viral video of their kids unbraiding a man's hair, a teacher's hair, a teacher's hair on camera? Like, did you even consider that? And then otherwise too was that with underage students, right? The consent thing is complicated here because did those students do it because they really wanted to do it? Did some of those kids may have felt like they need to do it because they wanted to make a good impression, that they wanted to get a good grade, that they wanted to, like, they felt obligated to because he was an adult authority and it was something that was, agreed upon. Like, there's a lot of things here that play into that role. Guess what? If you don't want to have any of those questions asked, don't ever put yourself in a position to do something like this. Don't do it. So at the end of the day, I think it just opened up a lot of worms about, okay, if it's happening with the hair, what else could be happening? Or what else could potentially happen? Where do you draw that line? And this educator did not know how to draw that line. I do know there's teachers who have more, friendly relationship with their students and they get cool with them like that and things. And it's different, but it's also different with genders too. There's a lot of other factors here. I think that if they were male students, with male students, there tends to be a little bit of a different relationship between men and men students with some things, right? And I do think with some of my male students, I don't say I'm loose or a little bit unprofessional, but I am a little bit more, I do get a little bit more even with them with some of the ways that they come at me based on stuff. Still professional, but the tone of my voice would be a little different with them based on how they're interacting with me. Sometimes. But with my female students, my women students, young ladies, I'm a little bit more mindful about interactions and just making sure things are clear. Look, I'm gay, so I mean, clearly, but I still think it's important to create those boundaries. And I also think that as a queer instructor in general, there is a lot of, stereotypes and just a lot of, just a lot of negative stereotypes and aura around because queer people engaging with students and things that because of those stereotypes, I'm even more mindful. And it's unfortunate. I mean, that's how discrimination works in America, but I'm even more super vigilant. I'm super mindful of just the way that I even, communicate with students, like how I send emails, how I word them. I'm just even more and more because I've heard stories of, Black queer instructors at certain schools, being treated a certain way or being looked at like they're a predator. And the gag is we ain't even bothering nobody. We really be the ones that be straight on protocol. It be the straights that be out here. These white women out here with these underage students and Mary Kay Letourneau, baby, it don't be us like that. We don't be out here doing all that. We just don't. Because we know any Black gay male teacher I know that's in education in general, I would say are the utmost like by the book because we already come in with a stereotype over us and people treating us a certain way compared to our straight counterparts. It's just true. I'm not gonna hold you. It can be because people already look at us like, oh, well, do we want them to be alone with these students or that? It is discriminatory. I mean, it's gotten better, over the years, but it can be, I will say that interesting enough, when I got married, a lot of things just started to be a lot more easier for me navigating certain spaces. And it's like, oh, the moment Ernest got a quote unquote man, oh, well, I don't got to worry about him. But if you single and you're young and you're a gay male and you're teaching or you're in these spaces, people treat you like you're a pariah. They treat you like you're a prey. They think that you want them, even though you may not even be looking at them at all. But there's just a lot of stereotypes that still and stigma that still permeate within these public education spaces and just general education in general. What happened to the guy is unfortunate, but it sends a message out loud and clear to a lot of you all that want to be famous and want to be, want to be the cool teacher and all that. Sometimes all that social media posting, all that putting on the internet is just too much. So, I always tell people, move, tread lightly, be mindful, pick your battles. That's all. So, as far as movies go, this week I watched the Black Twitter documentary that was on Netflix. It's a 3-part little series they did. Each episode is roughly an hour. It's about a good hour and a half, close to 3 hour type of time window. They're back-to-back episodes. They go by pretty fast, but they're very insightful. There's been a lot of chatter in the internet about this documentary. It was all right. It's never as good as people was hyping it up to be, but it was never as bad as people tried to make it be. I typically cringe at stuff like this because people say, "Oh, you should have been on a documentary." I mean, I didn't have to be on there. I'm not sweating that. It's whatever. I'm not sweating it. The producer, the writer, the people who wrote it and got involved in it, it's obvious that they have a certain type of cachet of friends that they have and they want to create it. And I think what really annoyed me watching the episodes is that so many of the people that really made Black Twitter were just not on there. And I think there was a lot of bias behind why they were not on there. I think there was a lot of cherry picking and star obsession. And so when I looked at who was on the show, the couple of people that were on that was on there, some of them were Black Twitter for sure. Like Naima, who does, music sermon. She should be on there, right? I don't really care much for April Rain, Oscar So White. I don't really care much for her as a person. But yeah, she should be on there. And she was on there telling the same story she's been telling for nearly 10 years. But, she should be on there. But there were certain people that were on there that I was like, why isn't Phil on here? Phil, who is an alpha, who is the news guy, who literally is the thread that everybody, Phil Lewis, right? This guy who is, at HuffPost, but he is always the go-to person that does the news, that tells us about news. Why wasn't he on there? Like Phil Lewis, you cannot talk about Black Twitter and not have Phil Lewis in the documentary because he's literally the newsman for Black Twitter and for Twitter in general, I would argue. It was just people like that was missing. Like, why is he not on there? So many voices. They just had so many like famous people who, quite frankly, does not really represent the overall Black Twitter universe. I can't stand D. Ray McKesson. I can't, right? But he should have been on there. Janetta Elzie, like Netta, like she should at least been on there to talk about what was going on with the activism. They had Wesley Laurie. Oh, Wesley Laurie, who's a, decent journalist, a good journalist, a great journalist, right? But he's on every documentary. And he's not the crux of Black Twitter. He's one of the people that's in the mix, but he's not the personality. Like, there were just certain folks that I just felt like should have been on there, that the fact that they had certain people on there the way they did, they just served as commentators and narrators, but they weren't people who could really speak to going viral. Now they had a couple. They had a couple of cool stills where there were some people that were part of famous memes. The woman who created Black Girl Magic, she was on there, right? Those were some great gets, and they were the people I was the most interested in because I was like, oh wow, they're there, and they made that happen. I wish there would have been more stories about people who made these very viral moments, these very big social media moments. how it changed their lives, how it changed the culture. Again, don't need to be on there. Had a major moment though. Where was Jordan Cherry, who literally is the reason why we had Janet Appreciation Day, which stemmed because of what happened with me and Janet and Justin Timberlake. Where was Jordan Cherry, who went viral on Twitter, got an Oscar because he started a damn fundraiser to raise money, a Kickstarter to raise money for a documentary that ends up winning, this great short film about black hair that ends up winning an Oscar. Where was Fred at? Where was Frederick, this dude who went viral for getting black people to go see Black Panthers and helped raise money to get people to buy tickets to sell out theaters? Like, there were just so many cool people that should have been in that documentary that just weren't. And so I think for me, the missed opportunity was that it just felt like this annoying, like, I just feel like Hulu's doing this thing where they want to get all these black moments and they want to turn them into documentaries, like the Freaknik documentary, which was so fucking annoying. But like all these documentaries where they want to just explain to white people, pretty much tell white people about this black thing. And that's really what it was. It was more like, oh, white people can watch this Black Twitter documentary and learn about Black Twitter. And it's like, in some sense, I think it's great that we're archiving moments of Black history, right? I think that's a great thing. But then I also just hate how it's being curated and being edited and being shaped, and who gets to tell the story and who gets left out of telling the story, and how inaccurate the picture gets painted. So it was just a little bit of how they told the history, how they fudged it, how they inflated certain aspects, how they kind of chronicalized it. It was just a little underwhelming. It is worth watching. I do think you should watch it just to get I think they did a good job of explaining a lot of the major shifts. I didn't like a lot of the voices that they had telling the story because I don't think that they were essential to those experiences. But I do think that if you do want to get an understanding, a little bit of a basic surface of understanding about the Black Twitter era, that I guess is still happening, this is like a perfect moment. And shout out to the idea of, they did do this one great thing I did appreciate was they talked about how Rihanna on Twitter, when she was really active, was a cultural moment. Just happy that they did name Rihanna's reign on Twitter and how she represented the olden days of when celebrities were really combative and vocal on Twitter. I will say that was probably one of my favorite moments on a documentary. There's other moments too, but I won't talk a lot about it. But you should definitely check it out. As far as music goes, Willow with this Emo Pathogen album. I like this album. It came out a week ago, but I just finally got a chance to re-listen to it. Willow got some good music. This Emo Pathogen album is saying something. It's a vibe. It was an unexpected album. Now, Willow's been in the news making headlines because she claims that she's no Nepo baby and her parents had nothing to do with her success. Now, girl, you don't gotta lie. Okay, baby? Like, you don't gotta do that. You're talented, you're beautiful, you're great. But let's be clear. If Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, okay, were not your parents, you wouldn't be, this wouldn't be happening. So, love your music, but you're a Nepo baby. And that's okay, because Black Nepo babies actually do got to work hard. I feel like Black Nepo babies work 10 times harder than white Nepo babies. It's a theory. I don't know the actual percentage of if that's true, but I believe it to be so therefore it is. One of my good friends, we always say, I don't know if this is true, but I have no choice but to believe. So that's that. TV, as far as TV goes, so last week I was telling you how I was over Zeus. Zeus wasn't really doing anything. The Zeus gods must have heard my cry because they finally gave us a new Baddies. It's Baddies Caribbean, and it is good. The first episode dropped last week. I just watched the second episode. It is good. It is great. I am in love. They've brought in a new list of baddies. Now, they're in the island, so it's only going to get more ratchet from here because, the laws are different out there in the Caribbean compared to what is going on in the U.S. So the show has definitely started with the blows. I must say, I appreciate some of the new girls they brought in. One of them is the woman from Danny Kane. And I said, oh, they brought the girls out. They brought the girls out from Danny Kane. I said, wow, Aubrey O'Day is there. Aubrey O'Day from Danny Kane. She's on this show. She is just, it looks like she's a deer in headlights. Like she don't know why she's here. But she is here this season. Who else is on this show is from Philadelphia, from North Philly to be exact. Meatball. You remember her? She was the young woman who got arrested, caught in connection to the situation that happened with the breaking the windows during that protest that took place last year. There was like a massive protest and she had broke windows apparently and it was cutting up, and it was that big, huge riot that took place. I think it was related to the police getting off from that shooting incident. But there was a lot going on, but she got apprehended, and she's been apparently she was making free meatball shirts, and because that's how she refers to herself. She's like an influencer on social media. But she is now officially on Baddies Caribbean. So far, she has not been fighting, but we're in 2 episodes, so we're gonna see how she's gonna play out. But I must say, that Nelly Nunchen, as they say, or she's gonna have another. She got another hit on her sleeves. It's bad TV. But everybody has to have a guilty pleasure. Outside of that, this upcoming week, I'm excited. I'm excited about Penn Reunion coming up. Gonna see what the campus has been like. I haven't stepped foot on Penn's campus in a minute, so it's gonna be interesting to go to Reunion. A lot of burning questions. People have been asking me like, well, how are the alphas that you went to school with? Are they gonna embrace you? Child, I don't know, and I don't give a fuck. It would be nice, but child, I don't, my expectation level is low on that. What is it gonna be like to see people since I haven't seen in like 10 years? Am I gonna play the song Bow Down Bitches from Beyonce? Perhaps, maybe several times in my ear. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to expect. There's some people that have been following me on social lately. And so I'm like, okay, what does this mean? I don't know how the interactions are going to be. Some of these people I've sprinkled over the decade have seen at different places, and it seems to be positive. Some people I've really not seen in 10 years and have avoided me. A couple of them I blocked the moment I finished my undergraduate degree. And so I had went on the whole schism of just unfriending and blocking a lot of people during that time, because I was really annoyed with a couple folks. Like the way I ended my 4 years in undergrad at Penn was very complicated. In one sense, it was loving, really great friends, great memories, all that. But there were just a lot of people that there was a situation that took place when I was an undergrad, not to me, but to a friend of mine. And the way that it was handled and it was dealt with left a sour taste in my mouth. And so as a result of that, I cut off a lot of the people that was connected to that situation, and I didn't really talk to them. So this reunion will be the first time in so many years that I've seen some of these people. And it should be interesting. And I am looking forward to seeing how it plays out. I'll just leave it at that. And as always, be well and be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.